To Zoom I go. Hello, 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 everyone. Hi, it's Dr. Lakeisha McGee. It's that time again. It's Survivor Sunday time. Again, we are here. You know, we're here every third Sunday, unless there is a change in the schedule. But every third Sunday, we bring you Survivor Sunday, where we have survivors, or we have thrivers, or we have warriors, or we just have those who are supporters to come and tell their story about breast cancer and to tell their journey, as well as to tell about the things that they're doing as far as nonprofit, as far as just supporting breast cancer survivors alike. So, you know, my nonprofit is called the Heal Her 2 Foundation. Today is a special day. Yesterday, I celebrated 4 years of breast cancer free.
Yes.
That is such a blessing. That's why I got the pour up. And as you can see, these beautiful pink roses. That's a little later surprise. On Wednesday, I will be celebrating my Jubilee. And I requested pink roses. So my children bought me 50 pink roses. So it was just perfect. It was perfect timing. So today we are going to have we have 2 guests that are going to tell their journey, talk about breast cancer, but we also have a special guest coming on a little bit later. So today we want to go ahead and get started. Once again, the Heal Her 2 Foundation, you all know that I provide wraparound services for breast cancer survivors, as well as their supporters, their loved ones, the ones who are taking care of them. And we are www.heal, H-E-A-L, her, H-E-R, the number 2, foundation.org, the Heal Her 2 Foundation.org. And of course, I'll come back later and talk about that a little bit more. So today I'm going to read these bios. These bios are amazing. Every time I come, I try to read their bios so you can know who they are and what they're doing in the community and on this breast cancer journey, because it's more to us than meets the eye. Once we are diagnosed with this thing, we become just super survivors, and we decide to do things to help others survive and change the perspectives of breast cancer as well as we can. I mean, we don't have the magic cure yet, but we are doing our part. So we're going to start with Vina Morris. She is the founder of AfroPink, a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing awareness of breast cancer into communities of color. As a two-time, you heard me right, two-time breast cancer survivor, she realized her lack of awareness about the disease and learned that Black women have a 40% higher rate of dying from breast cancer than any other race. This discovery drove her to action and became the basis for launching her nonprofit on October 1st of 2020. Vina set out to dispel myths about breast cancer within her community, encourage preventative health care, and inform of resources to assist with screenings. She was diagnosed with stage 0 DCIS in May of 2019, which entailed a treatment plan of 2 lumpectomies, 15 rounds of radiation, 5 years of hormonal therapy, and diagnosis mammograms every 6 months for 2 years. Listen to this. 3 months after completing her radiation, she received her first diagnostic mammogram. It was abnormal and led to a 3rd lumpectomy. You heard me right. 3 months later, after completing all of this treatment, she went back and there was another lump. The results revealed new cancer had formed in the same cleared margins. As this was her 3rd lumpectomy and another stage 0 diagnosis was her only option was a mastectomy. Vina made a difficult decision to have a bilateral mastectomy with immediate reconstruction for preventative purposes. I'm sorry, y'all be reading so fast. I'll be so nervous trying to get through. Vina is a living, breathing example of the Early Detection Saves Lives campaign, as her stage 0 diagnosis was the earliest stage of cancer, yielding the highest prognosis and a near 100% survival rate. Vina currently resides cancer-free in New Jersey, whoop, whoop, cancer-free, where she constantly shares her story of survival to encourage others while also motivating everyone, men and women, to do their monthly breast self-exams, annual mammograms, and genetic testing. I'd like to introduce Ms. Vina Morris, the CEO and founder of AfroPink.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Hi, Vina. How are you? Thank you for being here with us today in your lovely pink that you threw on. It's cute. Look, I didn't know that we all was going to come with the pink on today, but we're ready.
I had to get in
Okay.
line. I had to
Yeah,
get in
look, you came with it. Don't worry. I'm gonna go ahead and read your bio too, Tamika, so we can just go ahead and jump in after that.
Okay.
Tamika Aguirre is a United States Army veteran. I know you all know that I am also a veteran. I'm an Air Force veteran, so that's my fellow my fellow military sister. Miss Aguirre active duty military career began in January of 1994, in which she served in an active duty and reservist capacity for a total of 10 years. Upon completion of her military advanced individual training as a distinguished graduate of her class, me too, she spent a brief period stationed at Fort Myers, Virginia, before joining the ranks with the 504th Military Intelligence Brigade, located in West Fort Hood, Texas. Miss Aguirre also served and was attached to the 4th Infantry Division for a brief period. Miss Aguirre is a decorated Gulf War veteran. Her journey with breast cancer began on September 17th of 2020. After learning about her diagnosis, she immediately jumped up and ran out of the doctor's office to the parking lot, where she screamed and cried until she had no tears left and her voice was gone. She still has her days when her emotions strike her the same way they did at that moment in September of 2020. On November 5th of 2020, Miss Aguirre endured a partial lumpectomy on her right breast. She was diagnosed with papillary carcinoma with minor invasion and extensive ductal carcinoma in situ at stage 1B. She began treatment at a month after her surgery and completed 3.5 weeks of radiation treatment in early 2021. She describes cancer as an attack on one's physical, mental, and emotional being every day. I tell myself every day, survival is a race, and hope knows no boundaries. Keep fighting, beautiful warrior, and keep living in the midst of this fight, she says to herself. Her voice and passion to advocate for women and survivors from all over. She's a co-founder of our Sisters Keeper movement, a veteran-led civilian-backed organization. She advocates for all military sexual trauma survivors and non-survivors. In addition to this organization, she is actively involved in supporting the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act, which addresses the responses of the Department of Defense sex-related offenses against members of the armed forces. Ms. Aguirre is currently a special agent serving in the capacity as a federal investigator and has over 26 years of service. She has been a member of Zeta Phi Beta Incorporated since 1991. She currently is working on her first book, which is targeted to be published and released in October of 2024. She is a firm believer that society can always assume the broken pieces of our life circumstances are terrible, and therefore we must evolve and include the needs at every level of the female. I love that. At every level of the female. Miss Tamika, nice to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
So, ladies, those bios are extensive and they are amazing. It just shows all the wonderful things that you all are a part of. And I'm sure some of this was before breast cancer, but I know a lot of your advocacy is because of breast cancer, because of being a woman, because as you said at every level of the female.
Yes.
That's awesome because that's exactly what it is. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about these breast cancer diagnoses. Either one of you can go first. Tell me, you talked a little bit about yours when you got it, how you ran out the door because of, just mind blowing. Tell me about that experience a little bit. And Vina, be ready for that same question.
When I first got diagnosed, I am grateful there was a coworker, an ex-coworker, she's retired now. She actually trained me in my current job. And I honestly didn't think of anything when they asked me to come back, for the test. And the weird thing was I had just returned from Washington, D.C. out there protesting, and working with my grassroots other, partners with respect to the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act, by which we did get passed. We passed it in 2 years. Yes,
All
we
right.
did. That
All
is
right,
something that
and
I am
congratulations.
very, very proud of. But I had just returned with them, and I was coming down the highway and phone rung, and it was like, hey, can you come in to the office? We had the results of the biopsy. So I'm not thinking anything of it, but the coworker calls me and she's like, I said, well, I just got a phone call. And she's like, oh, I'm going to meet you up there. And I'm thinking, you don't have to do that. There's no need to do that. You know, I'm going to be all right. And she's like, no, I'm going to meet you up there. But what I didn't know was that she had a lot of members in her family that was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she knew what that call was about. Me, I didn't. When the doctor came in and stated to me, well, your results are back, and I don't know, you know, I can only say this one way. And he was like, you have breast cancer. So I'm sitting there like, I heard him, but I didn't hear him. So everything after that just went kind of womp, 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 womp. And I just stood up and I just like walked out. Like I really just walked out. No explanation, no permission, no pardon me, excuse me, or anything. And I think because it was the shock. Like,
At that point, you probably thought you got the wrong person.
yes, like,
Yeah.
what did you just say?
Yeah.
So as I'm leaving and I'm running out to the parking lot, it's hitting me. It's like it's really registering, like they took it and like you know how you get a needle, you get some medicine or something, like an IV or something, you know how they have to flush it. So the flush went through and it went through my brain and it was like, he just told you you had breast cancer.
Yeah.
And all I could think about in the parking lot was my children. That's all.
That's
And
common.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, this can't be possible because,
Ladies, excuse me one second, ladies. I'm gonna go ahead and admit Dr. Mo really
okay,
quick. Hold on. You just saw her pop in. Um, Dr. Mo,
Oh,
hi. How are
doing?
you?
I'm well, trying to unblur my background here, but I can't seem to. So,
You're good. We just got started, and
perfect.
Tamika was telling us about when she was diagnosed, and you know that
Mm.
call is
yes,
something. Tamika, so you said it started to hit you, and Dr. Mo, I'm going to go back and read your bio and introduce you. I just want to let her finish
yeah.
her
So
story.
I can
it it
introduce
it it
myself. Don't worry.
it, it hit me, and I was like, what a, you know, my children, and I'm thinking, so in that moment, all these emotions, you know, just that where I just couldn't understand them. I couldn't control them. And I'm just like screaming out because I lost my mother to cancer. I lost my mother to
Okay.
colon cancer in October of 2015. And I'm like, what in the world?
Wow.
And I'm immediately thinking about my children. I'm thinking about my siblings. And I'm like, we took this journey like, and I'm the baby of the four of us. And it was just like, how do I pick up a phone and tell them that how am I gonna, because we're all spread it apart from each other. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know what in the world, how am I supposed to deal with this? And I think in that moment when I was in the parking lot and I'm screaming, I'm crying, I don't have any voice left, but my mind is going and I'm having like this deep conversation with God, like, what are you doing here? Like, what is this? Like, you know,
Yeah.
people say they don't ask that why question, why me?
But
I'm
it's
gonna be
human.
honest with you. I asked the why me.
It's human.
I definitely asked the why me because I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my sorority sisters, well, who was actually my ADP when I was online,
Mm-hmm.
she took care of me coming through the process. And when I tell you her name is Norma
Mm-hmm.
Adamson, she walked this journey with me. Her and Kinder, my ex coworker, they
Mm-hmm.
walked this journey with me hand by hand. You know, I mean, just holding my hand, one to the left, one to the right. When one couldn't be there, the other was there and everything. So Kinder was there. But that first moment, it was terrifying. It was, you know, I was broken. I was hurt. I was confused. My emotions was unbalanced. I was unbalanced. My mental was going in so many different directions. So it was rough. It was really, really rough. It was heartbreaking. If anything, if I had to put a word on it, it was heartbreaking. It's truly heartbreaking.
Yeah, that call is it's a call, and it's a call that no one ever wants to receive, and it is you don't know what to do with it when you get that call at first. So I truly understand how you felt, and I understand just not knowing what to do or how to feel, and even questioning. And just because you question, and I know they say we don't question God, but just because you pose a question to God doesn't mean you don't believe. Don't
Exactly.
believe. It just means that you're
Exactly.
human and you want to know, Lord, what am I to do with this?
Exactly.
Where am I to go? What am I to do with this? It's human. Dr. Mo, I know you said you had a shortened amount of time, so you're okay? Because I wanted to jump to you and let you go ahead and tell us about this. I am so honored to have you here today because it's not often that we have a African American oncologist to work with us, and that's something that we're all looking for. You know, when we're at our doctor's office, we're asking about where are the African American women? We need those, you know, to speak for us, to speak to us. So I'm so honored to have you here today. You said you could do your own bio, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and break us in because your bio is amazing too.
Oh my goodness. Well, first, thank you for inviting me. I am
Yes.
I'm honored to be here and to speak with all of you and hopefully give you some pearls and answer questions. And there's a couple different ways that we can do this because I want to make sure that people get what they need, right? And so I'm Monique Gary. I am a breast surgical oncologist. So I'm a general surgeon who then specialized in breast cancer surgery and program building and that sort of thing. And so I direct the cancer program at Grandview Health, where I also direct the breast program. And it's in Pennsylvania, about an hour outside of Philadelphia. And I've been there for almost 10 years. So I actually started that breast program. And at that time, there were no other Black female breast surgeons in the state of Pennsylvania even. And so for me, it was really empowering and important to make sure that that representation, it matters, you know, and I know that it does. And it has been impactful for me, even though I practice in a rural community. That community continues to change, and women come from Philly, they've come from all over. I've had women come from DC and Delaware and places to come and see me because they said, well, when we found out about you and we found out how you treat your patients, we want that. Not just somebody who can cut out my tumor, but somebody who can tell me how to live a little bit healthier and how to navigate through this thing called cancer, not just, you know, somebody who's gonna when we want the cancer gone, but then what do you do with life after that?
After.
And right, and how do you put your life back together in a way that feels holistic and that honors what we believe about, you know, food is medicine and the body's ability to heal itself? And how do we become whole after something like cancer? And most women aren't getting that from their surgeons. And so it's been my privilege to do that for the last, oh gosh, 15 years, 10 here where I am. And in addition, I am an associate professor for health equity at Dartmouth. So teaching the next generation of students to really be empathetic, be excellent, yes, right? But be compassionate, be people, and treat
Yes.
patients like people. And not, you know, when I talk to students, I say, listen, you know, you're looking at this chart, then there's a whole person attached to this diagnosis. And attached to this tumor, right? There's a whole ecosystem of people who are depending on you, not just to take this out and be a technician, but to help make things right again and to honor them in spaces where there may not be inclusion, like in clinical trials and other places. And, you know, they're
Yes.
looking for us to bridge this trust gap because if we're honest, we broke it. Right. I said, just because you put on this white coat doesn't mean that, you know, our community is going to automatically trust you. Right.
Right.
My patients, sometimes they'll come see me and they sit there just like this thinking, you know, that there's some cure out there that I'm holding on to, or that, you know, there's something else going on that, you know, we just aren't telling people because we broke that trust. I said, you know, and especially some of the white students, I said, when you think about the first experience that we had with doctors was that they were on slave ships there to keep us alive long enough to sell us at the block. So when you think of a doctor, right? My grandfather used to say, you know, you don't go to the colored hospital because that's where you go to die because they didn't have anything there. And you couldn't go to the white hospital because they let you die.
Yes. Wow.
And so the
I've definitely
relationship,
heard that.
So where do
right,
you go?
right.
Yes.
How
Where
do
do
you
you
go?
go?
Right. So you
Yeah.
go to your herbalist, you go to God, you go to wherever else,
Hmm.
but you're not going to that hospital. I said, so don't just assume that you got this white coat on and people are going to trust you. Trust is earned. And so we
Hmm.
have to really work to earn that trust.
Yeah.
And that's been my life's work. And that's been my joy. Right. And that's why I'm here.
So, Dr. Mo, I'm so grateful to have you again, as I said. I have a question about, I know you have a farm. Is that what
So,
it's called, a farm? Talk to us about that, because some of what you're doing there is where I want to go long term with this journey. It's amazing. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Okay, so thank you for getting me on track because that's the other part of it, right? 3 years ago, during the pandemic, I bought a farm.
good.
T-I-M-I-O. And and on this farm, we had no crops. And one of the things that I wanted to do, because patients asked me three questions. The first three questions: Am I going to die? Do I
Hmm.
Yeah.
need chemotherapy? And then what should I be doing? How should I be eating? How can I change my life and pivot so that this
Hmm.
doesn't happen again, so it doesn't happen to my children? Because I want to heal naturally. And how can I do that? And I
Yeah.
didn't have the answers 10 years ago because it wasn't taught to us in medical school. So I
Hmm.
began a journey of really researching how can food be medicine? What is the role of mindfulness in healing? What about movement? And how do we do that when your joints are achy and you don't feel well and your feet are numb? And like how is this supposed to happen for you? Because I felt like we make it like, okay, go to TikTok and you do your Pilates and go do hot yoga and there you go, wellness. But it's different for everyone. And I said, we
Hmm.
need a space where we can come and figure it out. And it's not prescriptive. It's for you and your journey to figure out what works for you. It might be goat yoga for you, trap yoga for you, no yoga for you, right?
Hmm.
But what does it look like and feel like? And so 3 years ago, I bought this 40-acre property in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So out toward the horse and buggy country, not too far, but about an hour outside the city. And it is 40 acres that's dedicated to integrative wellness. And Vina's been there. So uh,
I
we
want
had
to visit. I'm coming. I want to
I do
visit.
too.
I'm looking forward to
Definitely.
it. We offer experiential learning in the form of wellness retreats. So
Okay.
we've had probably 3 last year, and we've expanded this year to do more education. So we're starting to offer some online modules about learning how food is medicine and things that you can research online, but then come and experience at the farm. So whether it's fishing,
Yes.
if it's ecotherapy and nature walks, yoga, meditation,
Hmm.
mindfulness. We had sound therapy with singing and ringing
Hmm.
bowls and healing your trauma after cancer. That
Hmm.
conversation, right? Everybody was in tears after that one. We had nutrition classes and cooking, right? Cooking
Hmm.
demonstration.
Hmm.
And so we offer these and we try to do it free. So we're a nonprofit. And the goal is to hopefully be able to continue to offer these. And people shouldn't have to pay to come to learn how the land is healing and to experience.
Yes.
So that's what we do. And we've had summer camps come out. Camp Jill Scott comes every year. She has a camp from North Philly, and the kids have never even been outside of the city, and they come out. And the little kids eating
Wow.
kale and walking the land and fishing for the first time in their lives. And we offer this same sort of training and workshops. Now we're doing leadership workshops. We're doing Fit Farm, not Fat Farm, Fit Farm,
Okay.
and lifestyle training and really working to get some overnight accommodations because most of what we do is just it's a day experience or people could stay overnight elsewhere. But we're growing. We're excited about it and can't wait for you to come out.
That is so awesome. How, if there were someone who wanted to come and visit, how do they come and visit?
So if an individual, it really wouldn't be to come and visit. It would more
Hmm.
be a group. So let's say your
Okay.
group said, you know what, Dr. Mo, we're coming out. And I
Hmm.
would say, okay, what do you want to do while you're here? And we can customize the experience for you. So you say, we want to go fishing, we want to do the nature walk, we want a chef to come out, and we want to do some cooking demonstrations, and we want to make some
Okay.
mocktails and martinis, and we want to do, whatever, pickleball.
Hmm.
Okay. So we can craft that for you and we can bring providers in who can give you that instruction
Okay.
and custom create a retreat for you. And like I said, if it's going to be multiple
Okay.
days, we have extended stay suites nearby, B&Bs, all
Hmm.
sorts of things. And that way you and your group can stay overnight, come here during the day. We can bonfire, we can do all that, and you have some sleeping accommodation. So that's the only thing we don't have right now is like overnight
Okay.
accommodation. But we're working on
Okay.
it.
Okay, well, I'm coming. I'm gonna figure this out, this schedule, and I'm coming because I'm always I'm in the learning mode. I want to learn as much as I can. So let's talk about patients who come to you who've been diagnosed. Can you walk us through just an experience with a woman who's been diagnosed when she comes to see you? How was her treatment planning and when she leaves you, just talk to us
Mm,
about the experience that she has with you, because we talked about
yeah.
what happens after
Mm-hmm.
chemo and radiation and the surgery.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So give us some some examples and some furthering as to what happens. And you do surgical,
Uh-huh.
correct? You're surgical
Yes. Yeah. I'm a
oncologist.
breast
Talk
surgeon.
to us about that.
So I love that you asked this because, I'm usually the first person that has to tell somebody they have
Mhm.
cancer. You know,
Okay.
nowadays you can read it on your portal pretty much. I'm gonna take this off because of the glare. So nowadays you can read it on the portal, but when, I like to call my patients, I'll see them face to face if I can give them that diagnosis face to face.
Mhm.
During COVID, it was really challenging because you couldn't bring anybody with you. And
Yeah.
so, by the time someone comes to see me, they may already have their diagnosis. My nurse practitioner might have called and said, when you got the biopsy, or let me backtrack. Because what we do is when a woman needs a biopsy and when it's very suspicious, we already start preparing that this could be a cancer. So that way your
Mhm.
mind is sort of thinking, okay, and who's important to you? Who are you going to bring to this appointment? And then
Mhm.
when you get your diagnosis, you come in and you see me. And the first thing I do, I say, okay, is everybody that's important to you that you want to hear this conversation, are they here? If they're in
Mhm.
the waiting room and I say, okay, you want me to examine you first and then bring your family in? So we won't talk shop yet. We'll talk a little bit about where my scar is going to be and that sort of thing. But we want to make sure that whoever's important to you is in the room. If you're by yourself, who do we need to call? Is there anyone you want us to call? FaceTime with. If you don't have anybody, my nurse is coming in, my navigator, she's gonna be your family member. She's taking notes. And she's
Mhm.
going to be a person who can speak for you and ask questions for you, and that you can feel like you got somebody who's with you so you don't have to go through this by yourself. And
Yeah.
so I start off with a hug, always. I
Okay.
hug my patients and they know it and they look forward to it. And for some people, that's the only hug they get,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
the elderly folks don't get touched as much, they're not as intimate anymore, right? So they're not rubbing and touching
Mm.
it. They may live in a nursing home or something, or they
Mhm.
just not, be in a space to really, um, they haven't fully accepted what happens. But by the time you get done the hug, most people are kind of, it's getting real.
Yeah.
It's getting real. And we talk about a couple different things. One, we talk about family history and genetic testing. Because genetic testing is important not just for your children. It's not just about, what's coming for generations, but it might change what you do surgically. If you
Yeah.
have a mutation,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
It could change
That's
your risk
correct.
of a cancer coming back in that same breast or in the other breast, right? And because if it's,
Mm-hmm.
the less aggressive types of cancer, and I'm gonna use a couple technical terms, but the ER,
Mhm.
the PR, the hormone receptors, if it's
Yes.
ER, PR positive and HER2, the aggressive one, HER2 negative, that could be a favorable type of breast cancer where it might not be as likely to come back. The risk of it could be half of 1% per year of coming back in
Mhm.
that breast. So maybe you
Okay.
decide to do a lumpectomy. But if you knew you had a 50 to 60% chance that cancer was coming back in 5 years, you make a different surgical decision. So let's get that family history. Let's make sure that we
Mhm.
do that genetic testing today. Saliva test, it'll be back in 7 to 10 days. Meanwhile, we talk about looking at the imaging, right? Where is this cancer? Where is it in me? Does anybody
Mm-hmm.
show you what your imaging looks like? Has anybody pulled up the CAT scan? Not just the report, but let me show
Mhm.
you the actual images and
Mm-hmm.
show you where it is. And then talk about, well, what do you want to see happen? What are your wishes?
Mhm.
The other thing
See,
I usually do, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was going to say it's so important to have you talking about these things because women don't know these things when they go for their
Right.
appointments. And even, I'm listening, I'm taking it, and I heard you talk about the testing because I know for Vina, when she
Mm-hmm.
went back after treatment, it was back in the same margin that was supposed to be
Be
clean.
cleared.
it
Yes.
was it,
Yeah.
it had reoccurred. So can you talk a little bit just about that for
Yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
possibly could have transpired for her because it was a reoccurrence in the same area that was supposed to be clear?
And it's tricky because I see that too as a surgeon, right? And the way I
Mm.
explain to patients, because some patients are like, okay, I'm gonna do that surgery, but I'm not doing that radiation. I'm gonna do this, but I'm not gonna do that. And I say, okay, but it's not quite like Burger King. Like there's a pathway of what we know reduces the chances of it happening again. When it happens in young people, it tends to be more aggressive, despite having clear margins, despite taking tamoxifen, despite chemo and radiation and all the things, but in general, when we get those clear margins, and then we do the next things that need to happen, the radiation, okay, if you leave breast tissue behind, radiation treats that. It's like a garden. If you don't till that garden, what you planted last season might pop up again next season. Right? And sometimes you till the garden and it still pops up again. Those peppers you didn't plant, those tomato plants are just poking through. Like, what is this? Right? Brussels
Right.
sprouts coming up and you didn't plant that. And so it
Exactly.
can still happen again. But then we also have medications. Now, if you have triple negative is a kind that doesn't have a pill to prevent recurrence. It's in
Right.
general a more aggressive kind that tends to come back in the
Yeah.
first 2 years even,
Yes.
so we watch those patients really closely because I can't give you a pill to block your estrogen. It'd be like taking away your dollars when you're not going through the toll booth. You're in the easy pass lane. You zooming on by
Right.
it. I could take away the dollars, but you weren't even using dollars. So blocking
Right.
estrogen isn't a good strategy for those people, and they'll have a pill to prevent recurrence. And so
Right.
some people have a higher risk happening, and it when it's very upsetting when it does, because not just to the patient but to us, because we do our due diligence. We take our extras, we check under the microscope, and they slice that up. Whatever we take out, they put in a block of wax like the wax museum, and they slice it end to end on a little deli slicer, and edges clear, edges clear, edges clear, edges clear for the whole thing. And it's
Wow.
so disheartening to us when it comes back too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's the most aggressive kinds? I heard you've mentioned aggressive a couple times. I am triple positive. I had
Uh-huh.
HER2 plus estrogen plus progesterone
Okay.
positive, and I was almost three. So
Mm-hmm.
two like grade seven, because when they was breaking down the grades and the this and that, I was like,
Grade
oh,
3.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I was 2B, grade seven. I was like, oh, okay, it's more to this thing than what we know. Even
Mm-hmm.
learning the different kinds, the HER2,
Yes.
the
Yep.
triple negative,
Yes.
it's more to it. So can you talk a little bit about those
Right.
different types of breast cancer and the
Sure.
aggressiveness of them?
Sure. The aggression of breast cancer is determined by, first and foremost, whether or not we know what's driving it. If your hormones are driving it to grow,
Mm-hmm.
estrogen and progesterone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's considered a more favorable type because we have a pill that can prevent recurrence because you then
Right.
block the hormones that are driving it, right? So you take away the gasoline so the car is not as likely to go.
Mm-hmm.
There are other types that are more aggressive when we don't know what's causing it, the triple negative. And you think about a breast cancer cell, right? It's a circle, okay? And there's little stations on top of that cell. And those stations receive the signal. So when your cancer cell don't have a station, we don't know where the signal's coming from, right? And so
Wow.
they have to get things like chemotherapy. For any tumor bigger than 5 millimeters, if you got triple negative, you got to get chemotherapy. If your tumor is larger, they'll give it up front. HER2 positive used to be a very aggressive type of breast cancer, but with the advent of things we call monoclonal antibodies, so it's something that's targeted directly to that type of cell, a HER2 receptor. That's the third station on the cancer cell. Again, think turnpike, 3 toll booths, 3 lanes, right? So the HER2
Mm-hmm.
lane used to be an easy pass, but now we know what's driving it, and we target the medicine to that. The tricky part about the HER2 is that people say, why can't I just get the Herceptin? Why do I need the toxic chemotherapy with it?
Yeah.
Right? If this
Yeah.
is the era of personalized targeted medicine, and the answer is it's kind of like this. You could deploy your snipers, but it would be a lot harder for them to win the war. You got to
Mm-hmm.
drop the bomb first, and then you deploy your snipers, right?
Exactly.
And so the
Exactly.
chemo drops the
Got
bomb,
you
it
gotta flush
wipes
them
out
out.
throughout the body, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
HER2 targets any of those cells that have that HER2 receptor. And so until we can figure out how to boost up the snipers enough that you don't need the bomb, we still have to do that. Now, the last thing I'll say is probably the most aggressive type of breast cancer, something called inflammatory breast cancer.
Yes, I've heard of
And
that.
inflammatory
Heard
is
of
not
all of
related to the estrogen or the progesterone. It's when cancer
them.
cells get into the skin.
Yeah.
They get into the
Mhm.
lymphatics right under the skin, and that skin appears on fair skinned people. They always describe it as when your skin turns red. Well, our skin don't necessarily turn red,
Red.
right?
Right.
But it might
Mhm.
look a little reddened or pink like a mosquito bite.
Yeah.
You know how when you get bit by a mosquito, it gets thick and you can see the pores.
Mhm.
If your skin looks red like that or pink like that, or like a grapefruit, and you can see all the pores, it's thick and puffy looking, and you didn't get
Mhm.
bit by a spider or a mosquito, right? That's
Mhm.
not particularly normal. So, cancer cells can get into the skin and then it spreads very, very quickly. So, inflammatory breast cancer is the most
Inflammatory.
aggressive kind. Yeah, next to triple negative, those two.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I haven't heard of anyone since we've been doing this really talking about inflammatory. So now I'll go back and research and learn more about that. Talk to us a little bit about why African American women die at a 40% higher mortality rate than any other race of women. Even though are we still diagnosed less than our other counterparts, or have we caught up, or are we still diagnosed less than now?
Right. So in general, Black women are not diagnosed at a higher rate. They're
Right.
diagnosed at a later stage, and we have a higher
Mhm.
mortality,
Yep.
stage for stage,
Yep.
even the
Yep.
more favorable. So it's not like we just getting it like gangbusters. White women they still have the highest rates of breast cancer,
Okay.
but we are
Mhm.
more likely to get the kind that's triple negative, where the hormone receptors aren't on the cell's bald, has no stations. So therefore,
Mhm.
there's no targets for the pills and things. And so that is an aggressive type of breast cancer for us that we're more likely to get. We're more likely
Why?
to get younger. We don't entirely know. I have a
Okay.
dear
Yeah.
friend who's
Yeah.
working on it. She just got a $25 million grant, global
Okay.
grant. She's at
Yes.
Morehouse School of Medicine. Yes, her name is Dr. Melissa Davis, and she's the head of
Yes.
translational research and genetics at Morehouse School of Medicine. And she just got awarded $25
Awesome.
million global grant to look
Yes.
at this. And she
Okay.
discovered a gene that came from West Africa called the Duffy gene. And it's a
Okay.
liver enzyme gene that plays a role in how we process and how our immune systems work. And there may be something to it that says it's not just the fact that we might be overweight or we didn't breastfeed, or it's hair relaxers and endocrine disruptors. Like there's a lot of stuff that they try to put on us that's the
Mhm.
reason why we get breast cancer, but there's a
Mhm.
science.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so
Deflecting.
she's
They're
like, listen, we're
deflecting.
we're bright people. We can do the math. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Why don't just assume it's because more Black women are overweight.
Mhm.
Like, come
Mhm.
on, really? In 2024?
Exactly.
That's what we blaming it
Yeah.
on? Because I know a lot of
Yeah.
folks who are skinny and drink alkaline water and they're vegan and they do it, and breast cancer still happens. So don't act
Yes.
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what happens and why we tend to find it later, it can be
Mhm.
access to screening, right?
Exactly.
Because it's not
Yes.
just getting a mammogram. You worried about the cost. What if something is found? What if I got to get an
Mhm.
MRI? I got to get a biopsy. How is my insurance going to cover this? What about my job?
Mhm.
What about my kids?
Totally.
What about, and all those things are what keep people from getting screening. It's not just the fact that a mammal hurts, although, it's not comfortable. But what happens when you're too young for that mammogram? What happens when you
Yeah.
don't know that family history? Because we just talk about my mom and pop, they went on to glory and we didn't find out what they died from. And we didn't know
Mhm.
that there was cancer in the family. We should have started screening sooner, so
Mhm.
that plays a role in it. Other
Yeah.
things that play a role, we know that bias in the healthcare system. When you look at what happens even with women who are fully insured, they're well educated. Take military women, stage for stage. They got insurance, they get their screening every year, they still have a higher mortality. They're still diagnosed later.
Mm.
They're still less likely to get referred for MRIs, to get referred for genetic testing, to get the aggressive treatments. And then you couple that with distrust. So now you don't even
Mhm.
want that aggressive treatment I'm trying to get you
Right.
to get. It's going to save your life. Because you're like, no, I know what happened with Henrietta. You're not getting me.
Right.
Right? So there's that
Mhm.
barrier too. So no, now we don't want to be in a clinical trial that could give us access to life-saving drugs.
Mhm.
And so there's so many layers.
So talk a little bit about clinical trials. That's something else that, of course, I was going to talk about. Tamika, can you unmute yourself? I'm sorry, I accidentally muted you. Okay, there you go.
Mhm.
Talk to us a little bit about clinical trials too, because I did participate in one, but I know once again that Black women are untrusting of participating in clinical trials. I don't know, have you guys, Vina or Tamika, have you participated in a clinical trial? Was it even offered to you to participate in a
Bingo.
clinical trial?
Bingo.
No, it was
And
not.
Tamika, you're still muted, Tamika. I'm sorry.
Let me double check.
Unmute yourself. It's still saying ask to unmute. Hold on, because it's not letting me unmute you. It's saying you have to unmute you.
Okay. Am I
There
there?
you go.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. So Vina, go ahead. I'm sorry. You said what happened with the clinical trial?
So I was offered to be, they sent, I was diagnosed at NYU Langone Health. So they did send me some clinical trials, but it wasn't necessarily for the type of cancer that I had. And in the state,
Okay.
by that time I was already clear. So I saw them come through on the app. To your point, we see them on our charts, on my charts. I saw them come on the app, but it was after I was like, and after I had the double mastectomy. So
Okay.
it was some,
Okay.
maybe like one or two, but it wasn't really applicable.
Tamika, what about you? Were you offered or were you aware of?
No, I wasn't offered any kind of clinical trials.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the word fortunate. I did not have to do chemo. The actual, my
Okay.
surgeon went to bat for me, through I guess they call it a tumor board, because
Mm-hmm.
once you're presented, he went to bat. They wanted to do the chemo, and he said, this patient does not need chemo. That is overkill. It's going to be overkill. You're going to do more harm to her than you are going to do good. He said, because this is, it was in the duct. He took that complete duct from the chest wall all the
Mm-hmm.
way up to the areola area. And he got all of it out of there. He took, he got the clear margins, and he took more tissue. I lost 8 centimeters of my right breast. And, it was, I trusted him. I really did. I remember the morning of the surgery, I was like, well, how much of my breast am I going to lose? And he immediately went into like a doctor mode, into a father mode. And he just like looked at me and he said, your head is in the wrong space. He said, he stopped.
You
He
want to
said, I
live.
want you to look me in my eyes. And I did. And he said, do you trust me?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes.
Mm-mm.
He said, then
Mm-mm.
let me save your life. Don't worry about how
Man.
much tissue I have to
Wow.
take,
Right.
and believe it or not, I didn't trust a lot of them, but I didn't have to do the chemo. So, I did radiation. I'm doing the same things that she's doing, the 3 months to the 6 months. And now I got released to 6 months. So that's like a graduation, and then you'll go to the 1 year, but it's still a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you bring up something, in the first question you asked was, were you even offered a clinical trial? Because the number one
Correct.
reason, right, that Black women
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yes.
participate in clinical trials is not because we say no, it's because we weren't asked.
We weren't
Right?
told.
We
Mm-hmm.
weren't offered. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a clinical trial was until after I was done with treatment, and then I was offered
Oh,
to participate in one. And so at this point, it really wasn't beneficial for me, but it was
right.
beneficial for another woman. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what it was, Dr. Mo.
I think what people should know, number one, is that not all trials are drug trials.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so
Right.
even in survivorship, there are clinical trials looking at fatigue. There are
Yep.
trials looking at sex and intimacy. There are trials that look at radiation and different types of
Mm-hmm.
surgery and whether or not we're going to
Mm-hmm.
take out lymph nodes anymore. We're doing a trial of stage 0 breast cancer to see whether or not we should even operate on it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it
Glad.
hasn't broken out of the duct, do we really need to go do all the surgery and the chemo and the radiation, all the things? So there's
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of trials. But what women should know is that it's not a dirty word. It's not a bad word.
Right.
Not
And
a
that when you're
dirty
at the
word.
table, yep, when you're at the table, you're not
Yes.
on the menu, and we're at the table, right? And
Exactly.
and so I want
Yes.
people to really consider it because it can give you access to tomorrow's treatment today.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was open to radiation, chemo, bilateral. I was like, I want to live.
yeah,
So I was open to everything that they had to offer. I even did herbals and I did everything. I went into survival mode.
No.
So like I
yeah.
said, nothing was a dirty word for me. I was like, I gotta live. I got children,
Mhm.
I have life. So um talk to us a little bit about surgery. I heard Tamika say, and Vina, I'm sorry, jump in. I heard Tamika say she
Okay.
trusted her
Oh
doctor.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me, it was extremely important. I delayed surgery by I think 6 weeks or so because it was extremely, I know, I took a chance, but it was extremely important for me to leave that hospital with some type of breast, and I couldn't, my insurance didn't have a surgeon. And then when I found the surgeon, he was booked, but I was like, I can't leave here without some breasts. I'm gonna need some
And
breasts when
that's
I leave this
real.
hospital. It was
Yes.
real.
It's real.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
And
women's
yeah,
scars, and I
Yes.
wonder who operated on them, who mutilated them like that, because
Exactly.
it's mutilation
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
some women. My breasts look amazing,
yeah.
amazing.
And
Um,
mine do too.
for
Hmm.
so talk to us about that, because I know that has to be
Absolutely.
a fear for women.
Exactly.
It is, and it weighs on your mind from the minute you walk in. And so that's why I always,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about that interaction. I said, what do you want? What are your wishes? I know you want to
Mhm.
be cancer free, but let's talk about beyond. You're going to be cancer free in a week,
Yes.
2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. You're going to be
Mhm.
cancer free, but
Mhm.
what are your priorities, and what are your wishes as far as how you want this to look and how you want this to be? And we go
Right.
over the pros and cons of, okay, if you want a lumpectomy, where's your scar? I do what's called hidden scar surgery. So I hide them around the
Mhm.
areola, under the breast. We do nipple sparing
Uh-huh.
mastectomies. You keep your skin, keep your nipples, all of it. And then you look like you either had a reduction or the scars are completely hidden underneath for some people.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
because it matters. And they say, oh, no, I just want to be cancer free. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter today. But a
It
year from now,
matters.
2 years from now, it's going to matter
Mhm.
to you. When you realize you're not going to die of breast cancer, you're not going to want
Yes.
to look at deep gashes and scars and disfigurement. I remember when my grandmother had breast cancer. She had scars from
Yes.
here to glory on both sides, and
Yes.
just horrible, sunken in, and she had lymphedema and just some surgeon mutilated her. And it's what they
Yeah.
did back in the 80s. It was somebody who slashed and
Yeah.
took it out and told you should be grateful to live.
They
And
didn't
so
care.
it
They
didn't.
didn't
And it
care.
really,
But
it
I
They
really
will,
should
did
be a
not.
partnership. And so,
I will
with
say, I
go ahead. Come on in.
wish I had met you, Dr. Mo, back then, because I didn't have the options of uh scar. Wait, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
I
Hidden
didn't have
scars,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But so yeah, I think because I
Mm-hmm.
had ductal carcinoma in situ, I couldn't
Mhm.
they couldn't save my nipples or whatever. So
Right. If it goes
everything,
into the nipple, we can't. But what we
yeah,
can do sometimes, and what I talk to people about, okay, so let's say we're going to do this. Do you want a lift or a reduction? Are you happy with your breast? Is one nipple pointing the other way? Is one larger than the other? And
Mm.
so
I
we
didn't
can
get
couple those things. Yeah. And so if I have to remove the nipple, sometimes we'll do it through a scar
Okay.
that looks like a reduction scar and then tattoo the nipple back on so you look like you had a breast reduction.
so
Like
Mhm.
what
there's
they
lots of
Okay.
different ways, yeah, to do it. And you
That's a
need a
blessing.
surgeon who's
they
thoughtful about
Yes.
did
you.
recreate,
Yeah.
they did give me
Yeah.
some new nipples, and then I got the
Oh,
tattoo. So I understand that
good.
anymore. Yeah, so that mine was in March 6, 2020. So
Wow.
she did offer that, but I didn't get the questions about like all the things that you just described a moment ago. Like I would have had,
Right.
could you put my scars underneath? Like I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
those things at the time, and I think that that's very key in treatment today, especially when it comes to like having
Yeah.
options to understand. So now I'll actually tell women or teach women to ask
Mm-hmm.
those questions because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I
Yeah.
had those options. Had I known, I'm like, oh no, just put the scar underneath, and then we can create something later. But
Yeah, and it's okay to
Exactly.
ask for pictures too,
yeah,
because that's the other
Exactly.
thing is that, how do you scar and how do you heal? Because we tend to scar hypertrophic. Sometimes we get, keloids and other things. And so
Yes.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to ask your plastic surgeon, do you have any pictures of, Black women that you've done this
Mm-hmm.
on
Every
and what might my
yes.
Mm-hmm.
scars look like,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about, well, what happens if one is smaller than the other? Because there's lots of things that insurance covers, like lipofilling. We do liposuction from places and then we can put it in and do fat grafting. And there's
Yep.
things that we can do that sometimes surgeons are very abrupt and they're brisk and like, let me just get the cancer out. And it's like, no, no, no. We have the
Mm-hmm.
chance to make you happy if we can, right?
Yes.
Like I want you to look down and be like, you know what, cancer happened, but despite cancer, I like what's going on here. I can exercise now. I don't have,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have back pain and shoulder pain anymore, right? Like what
Yeah.
can we do that makes life a little bit better? And so for my patients, that conversation happens at the first appointment, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
leave feeling partnered with, okay, what's our plan? Okay, we need to see the
Mm-hmm.
plastic surgeon next. After you see the plastic surgeon, you're going to come back and see me, or I'm going to stick my head in the room and say, how's it going in there? You have any
Mm-hmm.
questions for me? And make sure
Right.
that they feel partnered with. And on the day of surgery, when I see my patients before surgery, they all the checklists, the questions, all the IV started. And I say, okay, I got 3 questions. Did you go to the restroom, you tinkle? All right. Did anything change in your health since I saw you last? And then I lean in and I probably rub their feet or I grab their hand and I say, okay, I got one more question for you. It's a big question. You ready for this? This is the big question. You ready for this? Are you ready? And they're looking like this. Their eyes are like this. And I said, what kind of music do you like? And,
Okay.
and then we put on
If I could,
whatever they want. Whatever they want to
You
hear, if they drift off to sleep is what they're going to listen to.
Well,
you
you
you said
definitely truly.
partner.
I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm sorry. You said the word partner, and
Exactly.
that right there is what it is. No matter what your health
Hmm.
problems are, you should always feel partnered with your doctor because you are the
Exactly.
most important part of that whole thing.
Right.
You are the expert on
You.
you. So you have to feel like you're a partner with them. I've had 4 surgeries on my
Okay.
breast
Mhm.
after having reconstruction because the healthy breast, which is so weird, was not taking to the surgical procedure. So my plastic surgeon has had to go in there 4 times, but
Wow.
every time I felt extremely comfortable knowing that he's not going to send me out there to say that this is his work
Right.
without it being the best, most authentic work that he could do. That was
Mhm.
so important for me with Dr. Esmelian. He was like, I'm not going to do it. So he was like the closest, best thing that I can get to having a female African American surgeon. But it's
Absolutely.
important. It's
Yeah.
important that
It
he's
is.
concerned and care about what I cared about, which was I was a young woman. I didn't want to look mutilated. And I didn't
Sure.
even know to
Right.
ask, as Vina said, about all the other options. But I knew that I didn't want to look mutilated. I knew that I had to
Right.
look at this body every day and I didn't want to look mutilated.
And you know
Yeah.
what I think for what's important for people to know is that even despite our best efforts, despite the job that I look at and I'm
Yes.
like, damn, I'm good. Like there are those patients,
Yeah.
they still grieve because the nipples might be scared, but they're
Exactly.
numb. They're not yours anymore. Your intimacy is different and weird now. Your shoulders are weird now. Now you have tightness around in here, and it's okay to
Yeah.
grieve that. And
Mhm.
even if you do have scars, it is never too late to talk to someone about that. We can do scar revision. There's all sorts of things that we can do to try to improve things later. And I don't want people to feel like, well, I guess this is just as good as it gets. Like, no, go see somebody. You don't like what they say, go see somebody else. Because there
Okay.
are opportunities, I think, for us to feel a little bit better. And again, it's an amputation, right?
It
It's a
is.
part of you that you've lost, and
It's a
no matter
loss.
no
Yes.
matter how good it looks, you don't have to feel like, put on your pink tutu and go topless. Like you can grieve and you can be sad and you can be
Exactly.
dissatisfied and
Exactly.
cancer free, and those things can exist,
Exactly.
simultaneously. It's not either
Mm-hmm.
or. And I want the people's feelings to be validated because despite our best work, you still have a lot of side effects of
Exactly.
Yes.
of a surgery, even if it looks good on the
Exactly.
outside. On the
I'm an
inside, there's
example.
wounds, right?
Yep.
There's
Exactly.
wounds that
Yep.
need to be healed. And I
I'm
love your title, your name of your organization, Heal Her Too, right? Because
Yep.
exactly. I
there's a
do. I
lot of
love that
healing
name
that needs
too.
to happen.
Thank
And
you.
the
In
healing
in
starts, survivorship starts day one. And that's
one.
It
something that people
Yes.
does.
should know. Day
I
My
one.
It
doctor, my
does.
surgeon told me that. He
yes.
Right.
said the surgery is easy. He said
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the easy part. He
Yeah.
said
It's the
after
healing.
this surgery
Yes.
is
Yes.
where
Mhm.
you start to really
Yep.
surviving. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
when you start to survive. He was wonderful. He retired. He definitely deserved it. He had been a surgeon since like 1983, I think.
Oh,
I would have
goodness.
Mm.
never known he was as old as he was, but I had to meet him. I had to, and I told him, I said, we're going to have a couple conversations. We
That's
may
right.
even need to go to lunch together, but I
Mm-hmm.
need to feel real comfortable with you, you know. And when you talk about mutilations, Dr. McGee, we didn't even mention this, how we met. Her and
Mm-hmm.
I met
Hmm.
through a traveling photo exhibit that's now, I think we're in Houston. We're
For
in
And
Houston
veterans.
now. We're
Yeah,
in
for
yes.
Oh,
Houston,
veterans.
okay.
Hmm.
Texas right now. The
Yeah.
Athena division of the Grace Project. So
Yes.
our,
Yes.
believe it or not, what we did, and it took a lot of courage. We disrobed. Our
Yeah.
pictures are hanging up on walls like it's traveling
Yeah.
on walls where our breasts are just out because the photographer, what
Mm-hmm.
she explained when she contacted me to ask me to be a part of it, she said, I was sitting in a doctor's office one day and I just looked up and all I saw was a picture of the breasts. And she said, well,
Mm-hmm.
my God, there's a woman attached to these breasts. Where's her face?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
she came up with this, and there's 50 women a part of this project called the Athena Vision of the Grace Project. Me and
Yes.
Dr. McGee
That's incredible.
met. We met
Yes.
there. So we're called Grace Goddesses. That's my Grace Goddess sister. So
Oh,
it's like she's my breast cancer survivor sister. So there's a lot, there. But when she speaks of the mutilation, we were
yes.
honored because the pictures hung in the Women's Military Museum up there
In
in
DC.
Arlington, Virginia.
Mhm.
Wow.
Okay. And when I walked into that hall and saw the pictures of
Mhm.
other women, I cried. I
Because
literally
they were so
cried.
mutilated, some of
Mutilated.
them. It was definitely humbling
Yes,
to see the work that has been done on us and the work that had been done on other
exactly.
women. It was,
Exactly.
I cried, like she said,
Yeah,
because we were like, oh my God, who would do this to you?
exactly.
It was like, who would do this? But
And
that's a
a
part
lot,
of breast cancer that some people would never see or understand.
no.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
it took, yeah,
it's hard though, because we don't get to tell you, we certainly don't want to scare you with all of the things that could go wrong, right? Like implants sometimes don't work,
yeah,
right? Sometimes you get that implant and you get an infection or whatever, you got to get chemo afterwards, you get radiation, and next thing you know, the thing shifted and it's over here and sitting off to the side.
mhm,
And like there's all these things, hmm
Yeah.
all these things that
Yeah.
can go wrong. And it's
exactly.
just trying to wrap your mind around a
Yeah.
diagnosis and around
Hmm.
surgery and around, okay, because I have to I tell people all of what they're going to expect as a surgeon, because that first appointment, you want to know not only what's going to happen to me surgically, but then if I don't mention chemo, if I don't mention radiation, if I don't talk about trials and all the things that you might hear later, it's like,
Hmm.
well, Dr. Gary didn't mention all that. No, nobody told me all this. But then I tell
Hmm.
you all that and you still feel completely overwhelmed and you're not getting all of it, but at least I can plant the seeds. Like this is what you're going to hear at these next appointments. But all of the things that could go wrong, and even when it goes right, it still impacts your sense of self, your sexuality,
Yeah.
right? Your
Yes,
energy
Yeah.
level, your
yes.
ability to stretch. There's all kinds of things that functionally are so challenging after cancer that we don't really talk
It
about
is.
much.
Exactly. It's a
It,
lot.
there's some of the stuff I just didn't know about, and I'm sure a lot of women don't. But even the fact that for me, it kicked me into early menopause.
Me too.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I was devastated. I think I cried. I, I can remember calling and talking to my children and my son. My son is 31, and he was like, "Mom, you have 4 kids, and you were the best mom." He's like, "You good? Don't worry." I was crying to my son about menopause because it was something you just didn't expect because I didn't know. So it's so many different aspects of cancer, breast cancer, that you are not prepared for. One of the other
Yeah.
speakers before talked about having an oophorectomy. I had never heard of that, but
Mhm.
just
I
talking about
have.
these things. So every time we meet, we talk about all things breast cancer related and or breast health, and I continue to learn more and more. But just the loss of, for me, womanhood as menopause, that was devastating for me. I
It,
didn't want no more kids, but I'm just saying it took away options. The same thing with losing your breast. It takes away options from you as a
Mhm.
woman.
so for me, I put off having kids later in life. And so right before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I don't tell this part of my story too often, and I know that I should, is I was getting ready to start. I had met with a fertility specialist to try to get my little eggs out and do something with them um, before I got too old. So I think I was 44, and they told me to go try on my own and come back. And when I came back, unfortunately, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was getting ready to start the tamoxifen, which was going to put me in menopause. So I had this moment where I was in a panic because I had like 3 weeks to decide
Mm.
to get my eggs out, but I didn't have a partner, and it was all of these things. So I remember just being really stressed out because I had to make the decision, go to, delay for 6 months to try to do something or go right into it and get the cancer out. So I made the choice to go into directly into treatment and just forgot about having children. So for women who have wait till much later years in life to have children,
Hmm.
and then you get breast cancer, it was over for me at that point in time. So I
Mm.
was in immediate menopause, and I'm in
Yeah.
menopause now. So even though I stopped taking tamoxifen, that's another thing we should probably talk about. because I stopped taking it once I got the mastectomy, because I was at stage 0 and they were like, you don't really need it anymore. And so I've been going back and forth with my oncologist to say, hey, you know, are you sure? Because I still have estrogen in my body and, you know, I already had a recurrence. Like, what does that mean? And we're just going back and forth. So finally, I'm in full menopause now because I am also having my Jubilee. I just had my Jubilee in January. So it's one of those
So
that just really just messed up my whole. That was another thing you have to deal with is I had to make the decision to not have kids when I was
yeah.
around to saying, let me do this.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I was diagnosed at 44 as well. And you know, that's what we're talking about, this loss. So now you have this loss of not being able to, you know, have your children because you did things the way you thought was best, waiting and then doing it. So now we talk about grief. That's a whole nother subject about needing counseling, needing therapy. I don't know how many of you have had therapy. I still have not had therapy, but I am a therapist by nature, so you know, by profession. So I feel like I kind of knew what to do, but that doesn't mean anything. Every good therapist still needs a therapist. I just haven't had to get to that point yet. Now, there's been days, oh my God, I've experienced grief. I've experienced depression like crazy. So I do know about needing a therapist. So I was going to ask you about, have you had any therapy? My therapy has been helping and talking to other women because we share the same things, and that's been therapeutic for me.
it's a funny story because I literally, when I say literally, just started that journey on Friday. And it's because I was very intentional about the type of person I wanted to talk to. Like I wanted to make sure, because my doctors didn't look like me. I wanted to have someone that looked like me that I can talk to, that I can relate to. Me, Black women, a woman who's had breast cancer, a woman who had to make the decision to not have children. It's because it's a lot of layers. I did, you know, I had a double mastectomy, so I suffer from body dysmorphia. I just started talking about that recently. Like I refuse to like. My friends were screaming, man, you need a therapist, because I'm like, I won't look at my pictures. I don't want to see them because my body is totally different than what it was before I had breast cancer. So I finally found someone, and I literally had my first session on Friday, March 15th. And
Yay.
it's one of those things,
Good.
Yeah,
like, you know,
that's wonderful.
it
It
impacts
is.
so many ways. And that's one of the things that we're like really talking about. I had my first um, program yesterday to talk about life after the big C. Let's talk about the truth. All the things that we've been talking about that we don't normally talk about. We had a long conversation about it yesterday with a group with mixed people of different types of cancer survivors. And we were able to just talk about you going into menopause, you know, how your body looks different. We did a whole sensory workshop where we had a woman come in and try to teach us how to regain sensation for the women who've had mastectomies or port scars or any other type of scarring that has caused them to lose any type of sensation in their as it relates to your sexual health. So it was a very good
I
conversation.
need her contact information. She
Right.
sounds like
I'm sitting
somebody who
here
needs
like,
It
to,
was amazing.
yeah, send it to
She
me,
came,
Vina, for
I
sure.
will. She came to
Aguirre
one of
sent
my
some
events.
people.
Yeah, she came to one of my
yeah,
events and we connected, and she put on the most amazing
absolutely.
workshop yesterday. She is an amazing woman.
Mhm.
Conversations with AR with HER. I'm gonna send you her information, Dr. Mo. But it was very
Okay.
helpful in helping you think about because you forget that your largest organ is what? The skin, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have any. Dr. Mo and I had a conversation about this. And when I saw her at her forum about what I was what I am experiencing, and she's helped me in so many ways. We got to reconnect on that conversation. But she was able to like have you think about it different. You don't have nipples anymore. Okay, fine. Let's figure out another way for you to regain some type of
Sexuality.
sensation. Yes,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It
And
doesn't
where
have
are your erogenous zones, right? Like, did
to
anybody, and I talk to my patients about sex. I say, listen, it's a good time to be intimate. It is not a good time to get pregnant. Where are we with your reproductive wishes and desires? Okay. And if we
Yes.
need to send and refer to REI, then we do that. If you're done having kids or whatever, well, let's talk about what intimacy looks like during this surgical phase. All right. So you've done your surgery. Now you're healing and everything is getting back to, okay, let's talk about what that feels like, your intimate self during radiation. All right,
Right.
let's talk about your intimate self during chemo, because during chemo you might not feel like being intimate, but can we get some good foot rubs? How about a shoulder rub? How about a back rub? Maybe just a small of back, and what feels good to you, and keeping that line of communication open if you have a partner, and if you're single, right? What do you do then? And who's hugging you, rubbing you, and saying sweet things to you if you don't have a partner?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
all those
if
things
you
have to
want
be
to.
discussed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that
Yeah.
matters.
Yes, that's the thing. Like I refuse to this day. I wear stuff to cover up stuff. My friends are like, you gotta stop. Just stop. Get you a therapist
Yeah.
immediately.
And you
So
on your journey, you doing it. Yep.
I'm on my
In your
journey.
own time, your own way.
Your
Literally.
own
Yeah.
time. Yes.
Yeah.
You know when you need to hit that
Right.
therapist. Like seriously, you
Mhm.
know.
Yep.
Because you're going to
Yeah.
experience, as you said, I think all of us have
You have.
experienced body shame, and all of us have at some point in time. When you go through this journey, all of us experience depression, all of us experience why, all of us,
Mm-hmm.
we do. And when you get to that point when you know you need to see a therapist, I want us all to understand that it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's nothing. You just do it when you feel that you need to do it. That's
Mhm.
it. When your time, it's your time.
And let's be really real.
Exactly.
Some of us didn't like our bodies before cancer, right? We weren't having great sex before cancer. We didn't love everything. We might have been able to, front on social media, but let's
Right.
be honest. We had some issues with ourselves before. And
Right.
so recognizing and normalizing that. Like even if you
Yes.
didn't, you still would probably need this therapy. Now you got a real reason. And it's okay to do it in your
Exactly.
own way and in your own space, in your own time, but
Exactly.
to not,
Mhm.
don't stuff it, right? And I tell my patients, if you don't process this now, you're gonna process
Exactly.
this later, and your
Mm-hmm.
surgery's gonna be done, and chemo, everything's gonna be done, and then you're gonna be like, why am I still crying? Why am I falling apart? Why can't I find joy? And not to say that it isn't a challenge, even if you have felt during that time, but when you're able to process as much of it as you can in real time and sit with yourself and have a moment and have a day, and
Mhm.
like know that you got to see yourself on the other side of this
Yeah.
and that to
Exactly.
allow yourself to feel and not just push through. I'm fine. I don't need anything. Nope, I don't need anything. And everybody's like, well, what can I do? I don't need nothing. I
Mhm.
don't need nothing. Those are the people that had a breakdown on the other side.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
allowing yourself to be in a space of vulnerability, of sadness, of fear. And you don't have to stay there, but just
That's the
acknowledge it.
word.
Today I
Correct.
feel afraid.
Mhm.
Tomorrow will be
Yep.
different. I'm
Mhm.
put my big girl panties on tomorrow, but
Yep.
today I'm sitting in it. I'm just like, this sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
And
that's
so
Because
that's
you
how I feel
can't lie to
me.
yourself.
No.
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
cannot.
you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to
No.
everybody else, but you cannot lie to
Not out
yourself.
of
And that's
yourself.
just the bottom line, you know?
That that's truly me. Because when it
That's it.
hits me, I have these moments where I just have to cut off just
Mhm.
like everything and everybody. And people are getting upset. They're like, um, well, I tried to call you. You didn't pick up the phone. Well, I understand that I didn't pick it up. But at this moment, I just need some time for me. I
Mhm.
got into this thing now where I take myself out on a date.
Mhm.
Once a week, I take me out on a date, and it's just me and my thoughts. And if I want to talk to God in that time or whatever,
Mhm.
but I go and I look at water. I love to look at the water, but I'm on this date. But sometimes you just the anxiety hits you, the depression hits you, and it comes out of nowhere, and you're trying to figure out, well, what is
It
this? Why am I
does.
feeling this way? What is
Yep.
going on? It's like you like it's going through menopause. For me, I was menopausal when I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed at 50 years old. I'm
Mm.
53 now. I mean 54. So, I didn't experience those things that you guys did, but I did experience all of that other stuff that came with it. Like,
Mhm.
like I told you, I'm thinking about my kids all the time. I'm sitting here, one day I was trying to look at buying some new furniture. All of a sudden I start breaking down crying about this new furniture because I'm in my mind like, are you going to be, the dumbest thing came up? Are you going to be alive to, pay the furniture, pay for the furniture? All these kind of weird things
Mhm.
start to happening. And you have to, like you said, Dr. McGee, you can't lie to yourself. And I have to tell
Yeah.
myself, Tamika, this is real. Deal
Mhm.
with it. Address
Mhm.
it. Address these emotions. Feel
Life be
these
lifing.
emotions because they are real. And
Yes.
when people are screaming and hollering, you didn't answer your phone. I called you, this and that. And I'm like, you know what? If you can't give me grace when I'm going through my stuff, then you
Mhm.
know what? I don't know what to tell you, but you're going to be all right. Because I'm over here fighting for my
You
whole
preaching.
life.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
fighting for my mental and everything,
And you know
and I,
what? It's also difficult if you are the strong person in your family, your community. I'm the strong one. I'm the leader a lot of times in my family situation. So it's not necessarily that you the grace is not all automatically just given or thought that you need it, because you are the strong one, you are the leader, you are the one that's moving and shaking, so you have to continue to take that grace for yourself, because it's not always given to you. Not that they don't mean to, it's just not thought that you need it because you're the strong one all the time.
It's true, but I think also that, it's hard when people just say, okay, well, what do you need? What can I do? Versus, hey, you know what, girl, I'm gonna do the dry cleaning and pick up the stuff this week. Or you know what, why don't I pick up the kids? I know you're on treatment this week, right? Or I'm gonna go ahead and get this and this started. And we have to teach our family how to show up for us, because we don't know, because we have always been the breadwinners. We've been on the pastor's board. We've been taking the kids, doing this. Like we do everything. And so it's hard for people to know how to show up for us, but it's also hard for us to let them. And so
Yes.
I find that, some women come to see me and they don't want anyone to know. And it's the hardest thing. And it breaks my heart, because I feel like their families, if they knew what they could do, they would do something, and they would. It robs them of a chance to allow your family to show up for you and to be there. But you got to sometimes dictate what that needs to look like, because I had one patient, she said, people in my church, they just kept dropping off food on my porch and all this lasagna and turkey and mac and cheese and mashed potatoes. She said, all I want is my salads and my smoothies. I was trying to change my diet. Like, this was my moment. I wanted to change my life. And they just kept bringing me all. She said, I still got a freezer full of comfort foods that I didn't really want.
Yeah.
I said, well, did you tell somebody to drop off a salad? She said, no, I felt bad. So I just put it in the freezer. And I'm
I
sure they
had
would have made a
women
salad or something,
I had women who, because I shared my story on Facebook when I would go to chemo and anything, and I had women that inboxed me and told me that they went through that by themselves, that their own husbands didn't know, that they were wearing wigs and different things. And I was like, oh my God,
I don't know how you
how
go through that
were you
without.
able to pull this off? Well, I don't know how much their chemo already, I don't know all of the details, but I had women saying they told no one. And I'm like, oh my God, how lonely, because this is a lonely place, other than other women who understand what you've gone through. It is lonely in this, headspace, in this body, as you're saying, Vina, you're experiencing certain things that only I or Tamika or, can understand, because we too have the
Yeah.
scars. We too experience that, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have this community. I keep reaching out to women and Black beautiful surgical. I keep reaching out to women and say, please come on here and share your stories. Please come and tell us whatever you know, because I learn something from each of you every time I get on this platform to talk about this. And I hope it continues to just reach women willing to share, willing to talk. Like now, Dr. Mo, when I would go to my doctor's appointments, I took a journal and I wrote down every question. I wrote down whatever. And if I didn't, my mother did. So I tell women, take your journal, because everybody does not have a you. They don't have a Dr. Mo who's saying, hey, as Vina said, there's this process and this one you could do this way, you can do that. Everybody doesn't have that. So this platform allows women to say, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. I didn't even know I can ask those questions. So I'm so grateful every time we get together. There's more. There's so much more to this breast cancer journey. So much more.
And you know what I love that you're doing is that you're asking the right questions to model how it should feel and how it should look, and not just commiserating about how bad it is or how bad it was or how bad it's going to be, because we know what harm looks like and feels like. We know when a relationship doesn't feel good, but have we imagined what it's supposed to look like and feel like when it is a good relationship with your doctor, right? Like, can we create something through our communal thoughts and energy and questions and sharing? Because I feel like, we'll never get to the point where we trust our doctors and our community if we can't imagine what that looks like and feels like. You
Because
can't
I
be it
left
unless you
my
can see
first
it.
one.
Right.
I
And you
left the
have to
first doctor.
sometimes.
Yeah, I did. I left him because it didn't feel right. I didn't feel important to him. So I requested a new oncologist. I just did,
Me
He was a
too.
Beverly
Me
Hills
too.
doctors. He was, too busy for me. So hey, it doesn't feel right for me. So hopefully we're teaching women or telling women that you have the right to do that, because you are the expert on you.
Absolutely.
Yes, you have to advocate for yourself. Believe me,
things. Yeah, make sure, because I will get somebody off my care team in a minute. I do have to say this, even though I didn't get those options, I did have a great care team. My plastic surgeon is amazing. My breast surgeon is amazing. Both of them they still alive, and I still see them once a year. So I can't say that I had a bad experience. It's just at the time I didn't know that I had options outside of, because I was more concerned about something stupid. How big are they going to be? Because I had these really big. I was like, what's the largest size I can get? Okay, I want that size. He was like, I want that size. Right. So
look, I look at mine now like, oh my God, they too big. They gave me too much.
I'm happy with them after a while, but they're not compared to what I had before. And I've long since made peace with that. But I didn't think to ask, but and I did learn along the way. So when I have people, when I do my advocacy work, I do teach women to ask those questions now. That's what I said. I wish I had met you back then, especially because you look like us. You're one of us.
Right.
I feel like I
Exactly.
love your approach to it. So
Yes.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
It
I
is
put a link in the
amazing.
chat, and hopefully you can put it in Facebook. But I had the chance to partner with Jasmine Sullivan and Novartis, and
Oh,
we
okay.
actually, yeah, and
I
it
don't
was
know how
a
to do this.
campaign called More Than Just Words, and
More than
Okay.
just
it
words.
was about, really reframing the narrative of breast cancer for Black women, for one, but two, generating some useful resources. How do you have
Okay.
that conversation? What should you be asking, and what should it
Mm-hmm.
look like and feel like? And, how can you tell if the relationship is good? So I put it in the chat, just a little guide on
Okay.
how to talk to your doctors, and have that breast cancer
Okay.
talk with your doctors. But you're right. And the advocacy work that all of you do is so important, because you don't know what you don't know. And especially when you first get diagnosed and you're right in the thick of it, you're doing research on everything, and your mind it's in 1,000 different directions, including your life, including your family, including your job, including your money, including everything. And so having this information and hearing this in advance, and hearing this even in survivorship, is modeling how to do this, and how to take them lemons, right? To turn it into lemon meringue, some limoncello, you got some lemonade, you got, you know what I mean? Like, these lemons are doing some amazing things. You got some sorbet going on, and how to walk this journey, because after it's over and you sit with yourself, there's all this anxiety and all this fear and all these other things that you got to channel that energy somewhere. And
Yes.
that's what this represents to me, is this is the channeling of all of that energy into some positivity. You're sowing seeds, right? And it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. And Dr. Mo, like I said, I know that you are extremely busy. I'm so grateful that you were able to stop on here today with us and drop those nuggets, because we need them. So now I got to connect with you so I can come and visit the farm.
yeah,
And
Yep.
I'm super excited to
coming
definitely
back.
come to the farm.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we'll go together, Vina. Maybe we'll go to the farm together, because yeah, that'll be great.
I want to
So
go.
come
I want
on.
to go.
Well, May 4th is the next wellness day. We just set the date, and the
Okay, May
QR
4th.
code is
Okay.
out. It is
Put it down
I'm
it's
right
checking the
free.
now.
calendar.
May 4th.
It's
Okay.
Yeah.
free.
I'm not
May
that far.
4th.
I can drive to the
See,
farm.
May the 4th be with you. But
Yes.
yes, May 4th is the next one. And I think we're going to
Okay.
probably take about 75 women.
May
And
4th.
like I said,
Okay.
it's free, first come, first serve, and you just register and then come on out and
Register
join
what
us.
you're saying.
And
Okay.
if we can't get you here in May, then let me know when you can come east, and we'll get you, private little tour or whatever. But we try to do, the activities are more groups, right? Because I don't have full-time staff and that sort of thing. But May
Okay.
4th is the next one. And then we'll do one again, probably late September, probably just before Breast Cancer Awareness Month, to try to fill our cups so that you can feel, could go out into your advocacy in October and you can hit the ground running, because you took a moment in September for yourself. And
Okay.
so I think we're going to
Amen.
try to do it in September.
Amen.
Okay.
That'd be so
I'm gonna lock
wonderful.
in the 4th
That
off.
would be
Yes.
May the
Thank you
4th.
so
Yes.
much. Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna look
listen,
at my
it's been
calendar
my
too. I
pleasure.
feel like I have something going on that weekend, but I'm gonna look and see, because that would be great if we can go.
Love to see you.
Dr. Mo, listen, like I said, I know you said you didn't have a lot of time today, but you are welcome to stay so I can hear these beautiful women's story, or if you can stay with
I
us,
have to
stay
jump
with us.
off, unfortunately.
See?
I have to
I
jump, but
know.
this has been such a joy, and I'm just so
Yes.
grateful. Thank you for
I
reaching
am
out
too.
and
Thank
inviting me.
you. Thank you.
And
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank
I'm
you.
going to get on your website and see if I can make that May 4th. If not, definitely in September. I am
okay,
so grateful for our connection. Thank you for
Yes.
the information that you shared with us. It is so beautiful to hear it coming from someone who looks like me, because I feel your care, I feel
Mhm.
your understanding, your concern. Um, I feel it because it could be you or me. So I feel it. I appreciate it so much. I also want to look into the other doctor who you said was doing the research. I want to research that gene that you say she found that dated back to South Africa. I want to look into that too. So thank you so much, so much. I will be bugging you. You will not be able to get rid of me now. I'm here. I will be
I
bugging you.
love it. Listen, it's a joy.
Thank
Vina,
you.
it's always great to be on a panel with you, to talk with you. You got my
Yes.
number. You
Likewise.
reach out anytime. Let me know how I can support you. Tamika, it's just, girl, you on fire. And I love it. Your authenticity, because just keep doing what you're doing, because
Yes.
You
you're
want to know
reaching.
how I really got on here today? I
Yeah,
talked to my oncologist. I've never really got on the platform to just talk about it,
Share your
to
story.
just
what?
talk. And
I would
she
not have
told
guessed that
me,
at all.
she
Yeah.
said, she's been asking me to start a group
Mm-hmm.
within her practice. She
Yeah.
said, I think you would really do good. I said, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to hear all of their stuff. And she said, yes, I think you are. She said, but I think they need to hear you.
What do you
So
think now? What do you think
I,
now?
I think I'll be okay. But I just
Mhm.
I think I'll be okay. But just like Dr. McGee just said, it is just wonderful to see someone that looks like you. I
Mhm.
love your passion.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love your drive. I love your
Mhm.
realness. I love everything about you. And I haven't even met you. I've
Mhm.
seen you here. And I
Oh,
think it's a wonderful thing, everything that you're doing. If there's ever anything that I could do to help, I'm due to
Yes.
get ready to retire
absolutely.
here. I'm trying to retire in 3.5 years, and I would love
Let's
to
go.
join you. I
Let's
would
Yes.
do it.
love to join you.
Yes.
Let's
I
do
really
it.
Dr.
would. I'm
Mo,
not a doctor.
Yes,
I got
ma'am.
investigative backgrounds, but hey, whatever you need
look,
I
to help,
love it.
all of it helps. That's right. I was going to say all of
yes,
it
whatever
helps.
I could
Yes,
do,
it does.
Yes. I
Yes,
was
whatever.
going to
ma'am.
ask you one last question before
Sure.
you got off was, and I've been meaning to ask you this, how did you decide that this is what you wanted to do, as far
Mm.
as being
Mhm.
for women,
Mhm.
breast cancer and oncology? How did you decide you
This
wanted to
picked
do that?
me. It picked me. I got it
Okay.
honest because
Okay.
I remember I was a little girl and
Hmm.
I come from a family of nurses. My grandmother was a nurse. My mother was an LPN, and I grew up watching them care for others. And so I kind of knew I was going to go into healthcare, but when I was 7, my mother got really sick really quickly, and she died of ovarian cancer. She's 29. And
Mm,
she left 2 girls behind. My sister was 10, I was 7. And,
mm,
at that time I was playing with my stethoscope and just trying to figure out how I could help. What could I do? I can't do anything, but can I get you something? How can I be of
mhm.
service? And then my
Wow.
grandmother took us in and she got breast cancer, not once, but twice. And each time some fool in a white coat told her she had 6 months to live and she needed to start making her plans. And I watched her advocate for herself. And she said, no, no, no. She said, I got 2 grandkids, 2 granddaughters I have to raise because their mother died.
Man,
And one of them said she's gonna cure breast cancer. So I don't have time to die. She said she's gonna cure
man,
cancer. So I need to see her. She got to graduate. And I
man.
watched her fight her way through, and then she lived another 10 years and then got breast cancer in the other breast. And one thing we didn't talk about, next time you have me on, we talk about other types of
How it
screening modalities,
switches.
because
Mhm.
hers didn't show up on a mammogram. She had the kind that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, it hides, the lobular carcinomas,
Mm.
they call them, invasive lobular. And
What
so
is
then
it
she got
called?
cancer in the other breast, invasive lobular carcinoma.
I was
Okay.
diagnosed with that.
And it's
Mm.
hard. You got to do MRI because it doesn't always show up on a mammogram. It can hide
Mm.
out. It's a sneaky one. It's not more aggressive, but
Mhm.
it's sneaky. And it can come back in the other breast. And hers did. 10
Oh,
years, maybe
wow.
10 years later, not even 10 years. And some numbnuts told her she had 6 months to live and start making her plans. And she said, yeah, I heard that before. And she lived another 20 something years. She died at, I don't know what, 80, 85. Heart failure, right? Like she lived a long life despite the diagnosis. And so I kind of knew I was going to grow up to kick cancer's butt.
Okay.
And I say that it picked the wrong one because there wasn't really anything else for me to be other than a cancer surgeon at that point.
I love
Oh,
So with that type of
that's
breast cancer,
amazing.
with it hiding, Does that allow it to sit and become more aggressive? Are women usually diagnosed at a later stage when it
Not
is?
necessarily.
Okay.
Because
Mhm.
lobular carcinoma, so the way you got to think about the breast is sort of like this. The lumpy, fluffy parts that make the milk are the lobules. They're like clouds. And then the milk
Mhm.
ducts carry the milk to the nipple. They're like straws. And
Mm-hmm.
so when cancer grows in the ducts, it's like a can of Pillsbury biscuits, something. The can breaks open and then it pops out. That dough comes out, and all of a sudden you got a lump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lobular
Mm-hmm.
carcinomas, the little cells just drift outside the lobules, like coloring outside the lines. It looks like a cloud
Mm.
is dropping raindrops, and it's harder to see because there's not always a big tumor or mass. So they get
Wow.
discovered later when there is a mass. After all the cells have dropped out of the cloud, and now we got a snowball. Now you
Wow.
see it and it shows up, but all the little drops before it became a snowball doesn't show up on imaging sometimes. So it's not more aggressive, but a lot of times it's found later when you can feel it because it didn't
Okay.
show up on mammals. It can hide.
Can I just
Never heard of it.
yeah,
Thank you.
I've heard
I
of it.
have.
Let me say something real quick before you go, Dr. Mo. So
Yeah.
because I was DCIS stage 0 twice, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people say that it was aggressive to get both breasts cut off. So when I got my first abnormal mammogram, it was atypical ductal atypical ductal hyperplasia. When I
Mm-hmm.
got the right breast cut off at the same time, I was cleared on the left side, but my right breast came back with atypical lobular hyperplasia. So I was on my
Mm.
way potentially to a third diagnosis. So every time someone
Wow.
tells
Wow.
me that I was, it was too aggressive, I would not have, you shouldn't have got another, a double mastectomy. I'll tell them
Right.
I had that right one examined by the pathologist. It came back abnormal. I was on my way.
Right.
Who knows? But when you
They
said
don't
that,
know your story. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
that
But yeah,
that
that
just validated
atypia,
me. Hmm.
people should know that atypia is
Yep.
like,
Yes.
the Pillsbury can isn't full yet. And
Yep.
then when it
Mm-hmm.
fills up, then it's DCIS, it's stage
Yes.
0.
Yep.
Once the can is completely full, and then once it breaks out, it's stage 1, it's invasive because it broke
Mm.
out from the place it started and has a chance to go somewhere else. So I say, think about a
Mm-hmm.
can of Pillsbury biscuits.
Hmm.
And it's the easiest way to think about it. But yeah, your biscuits, your dough was rising in those lobules and in those ducts.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
that would
Wow.
have kept growing over time. And you are right, and it's based on, the mutation that you have makes you more likely and more susceptible to these types of cellular mistakes. But
Mm-hmm.
it can happen to lots of women, and I've seen that before. Where women get a
Mm.
mastectomy on both sides, and that's the right choice for them. Some people get one on one side, it's the right choice for them. And as a surgeon, I have to honor all that. But I have to take you down the road of, okay, what if we don't do a double mastectomy? Let's talk about making sure that you
Right.
feel prepared for your scans for the future. Because if it didn't show up on mammo, well, that means we got to get MRIs every year too. So what do
Right.
we need to
Right.
do? If you're going to keep your breast, what does surveillance look like for you? And that's the part of the
Mm.
conversation we don't have. It's not, oh, you just keep your breast, but okay, but this was hiding. So let's talk about how we're going to keep, what's your
Mm.
early detection look like moving forward and thinking about those things
Mm.
because, the number of women who come back with a lot of that anxiety is really real. But the ones who get a
Real.
double mastectomy come back too and say, well, now we're not checking. We don't get no more mammograms. How do I know? And
Exactly.
Right. Wow.
Exactly.
so the
Wow.
That's
anxiety
very
is real no
scary.
matter
Let's talk
what.
about that next time.
No
Yes.
It is.
matter what, it's
Yes.
real.
Dr. Mo, we got to have you back.
Yes.
We're gonna have to
Exactly.
figure out how to have you back. We
Let's
gotta
do
have you
it.
back because there's still so much more
Much
that we
Yes.
have
more.
not talked about. But I am
Mhm.
so, once again, so grateful, so grateful. But we have to have you back again.
I'm here for it. You tell me, send me the
Okay.
dates. I'm gonna lock it in. I look forward to seeing
Yes.
each and every one of you at the farm. The QR code will be
Yes.
up on my social media. It'll be on the
Okay.
website if it's not already. But Still Rise Farms is a website,
Still Rise Farm. Yes.
www.stillrisefarms with an S, like still I rise, but no I. Just Still Rise Farms, because we still rising.
Yes, ma'am.
.com. And I see you
Gotcha.
here. I see you here.
Thank you
Love you.
so much, Dr.
Thank you
Mo.
so much,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Moore.
We
Love
love
you
you
all.
too. We appreciate you.
See you
And we
next
will have
time.
you back.
You
Thank
got it.
you.
Peace.
Okay.
Take
Bye,
care.
Dr. Mo.
Bye.
Alrighty. You take care.
She is awesome.
Ladies, oh my
Yes.
God, that was so, I'm just
Exactly.
blown away because once again, as I said, every time we do these, I learn so much more, things I had never heard or did not know. So thank you for being so gracious and just jumping right in and tell us your story, Vina, because we didn't get to hear yours, your diagnosis, and just all of the things that you've experienced too. We still have some time, ladies. Y'all still here? Let's roll.
Let's make it do what it do. So
Yes.
for me, so my story is a little different. So I started, I'm going to just start, I'm going to speed it up though. So I found a lump when I was 35. Like I said, I just turned 50 in January. So 35, I was in the shower one day.
Welcome to the 50 Club.
Hey, I'm on the 5th floor of life and I'm listening. So I'm blessed to be here. I'm opening up these eyes. I thank God. So
Yes.
get that first and foremost. So I woke up that morning. I was in the shower. I found a lump and I went to the doctor. And you can't get mammograms under the age of 40 because she can see the lumps protruding out of my left breast. She was a brown doctor. I guess she's a Indian, Dr. Aisha Patel out of Illinois. That's where I'm from Chicago.
Chi-town.
Right, Southside all day.
Southside, yeah.
That city all day.
Yeah, look, I saw that 773 number and I was like, girl, where you from? She's like, Chicago. I was like, me too.
Born and raised. I was born and raised in
raised.
Chicago proper, in the city of Chicago, not the suburbs, in the city.
Yes.
So we found the lump. So she was able to get me a mammogram and we did she did the ultrasound first so she can clearly see him. And that was how I was able to get the mammogram. 9 years later, I'll go in for my 10th mammogram. Now we're in March of 2019. I go in and I get my first abnormal mammogram. And that day, I tell you, I was not even going to go. I'm like, these things are a waste of time. I don't believe I can get breast cancer. It was not around me. I don't see it. The face of breast cancer is white. So it's one of those things that you just really don't pay attention to. I'm just like, whatever, it's not going to happen to me. So fast forward, I got my first one. And like you said earlier, Dr. McGee, is that when you get that call that your phone, they try to, because I work for the hospital too. That's the part of the story that I don't tell people. I worked for the hospital. So they have my work phone, they have my work cell phone, they have my personal cell phone number, they have my home phone and email. So they were emailing, texting me all these things. You need to come back. So that's when I got my first thing was an abnormal mammogram. And that's what I was telling Dr. Mo a moment ago, which was atypical ductal hyperplasia, right? So that led to a biopsy. We went to get a biopsy. No one's telling me it could be cancer. Let's just check it out. You never know. So I got the biopsy. It came back benign. No cancer. They put the marker in. I went about my life. 10 days later. So now we're in May because there was some time. I didn't take it seriously. I was like, whatever, I don't get breast cancer, whatever. I'll call them when I'll call them. And between March and May, I didn't have any contact with them. And when I talked to them, they got me in right away to get that the needle biopsy. I talked to my PCP and she said, nope, we're going to get that lump removed so we don't have to worry about it. 10 days later, I go in, 7 days later, I go in May 10th, they take out that lump. Didn't hear anything again because take it out. No one contacted me. It wasn't in my chart. I was going about my life and I was getting ready to go to Spain for one of my friend's 45th birthdays. It's 45. And I called them like, hey, let me just call them because normally it's in my chart. I work on technology, so I'm very familiar with how my chart works. It's one of my products, or the team products that I've been working on. And I called them and they were like, oh, you need to come see your oncologist and your surgeon, breast surgeon again. I'm like, my oncologist. Now, I mind you, again, very ignorant about breast cancer. I didn't really know much. I knew an oncologist was a cancer doctor, but I didn't know that it was a cancer doctor. Like, I can't explain it. It was like, whatever, it's something that deals with cancer. She said your, not a. And that was the thing that was kind of alarming, but not really. So they were like, you need to see your breast surgeon first, and then you need to see your oncologist. I'm like, okay, she's saying this word, your again, whatever. So the next day, I go in. But right before I go in, I'm like, okay, well, you need to see your oncologist first and then see your breast surgeon. So I go in. And I meet this bubbly young, well, I don't know if she's that young, but she comes and she's all bubbly. I work for the hospital. We're always talking about the technology. And she's coming in, we're kikiing, I had a Black nurse. And next thing you know, she's like, okay, so your treatment plan consists of I'm like, my what? What do you mean your treatment plan? She's like, your treatment plan. And then that's when she had this look. She's like, oh my God, you don't know this.
You don't know.
I don't know what are you talking about? So that's what she told me. She said, hey, she sat down, her whole demeanor changed. She sat down and now she's like, okay. And the Black nurse now was now holding my hand because you can kind of see the panic and the fear coming over my face. Like, what do you mean my treatment plan? And she basically said that, you have breast cancer. I heard nothing after that. Like you said, Tamika,
Exactly.
Wow.
I heard nothing. The only thing I thought immediately is that I'm going to die, because when you think about breast cancer, what do you think about? The white
Yeah.
women on TV, no hair,
Yep.
all these things. I'm about to lose my hair. I'm going to die. All these things. Because I didn't really know anybody that really had breast cancer outside of a cousin who survived it. But still, I didn't see her during her journey because I was young and when she was going through it. You know, you don't pay attention when you're kids or whatever. So that's my diagnosis, right? So that's how I got diagnosed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So like you, I worked like 4 blocks from the hospital, from the cancer center, and I was literally walking to work because what I did, I'm very busy. Technology, it keeps you busy. So I had a full day back to back. So I made my appointment at 8 a.m. in the morning. I went by myself because I had a benign biopsy. Why would I expect anything different? Also, because I did not have any results on my chart, how would I know what's happening, right? So
Right.
I went in like it's a normal appointment. Hurry up, I gotta go. I got a meeting at 8:30. So like I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and give me this information. I gotta go. So yeah, that's
Mm.
how I found. So I'm openly wailing, walking down the street. It was things. My colleagues look at me because I'm really, I'm buttoned up, hair, I'm never out of place. You'll never see me display any type of emotions outside of work, outside of the emotions that we need to make a pleasant workplace. But this time I was completely unhinged. So I'm seeing my coworkers and they're trying to
Wow.
like take care of me. I called my boss, like, I'm not going in. I'm going home. I'm going home. I'll see you. You figure
Yeah.
it out. And I went home and I told my mom, I called my mom, I'm gonna die. She was like, calm down. What did the doctor say? I don't know. She said I have breast cancer.
Wow.
I don't know. And then I got my chart and all I can see is like breast cancer. And it was like floating. Like it was like how you get something in a dream. And I'm like, I'm looking at my phone. All I saw was breast cancer. And I knew nothing about stage 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5, 15. I knew none of that stuff. So
So a couple of things that you said. One of our speakers last month said the same thing, that she didn't know. When she walked into the doctor's office, she had not been informed about her diagnoses. And I'm like, that to me is insane. Two, I don't know if I would want that to be in my chart. That's how I find out that I have been diagnosed with breast cancer. As I read the chart, oh yeah, you have breast cancer. I think
held
them
it.
not putting it in there is probably the best. That's something that you
Protocol.
should do face to face. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was definitely protocol, but the problem that I
yeah.
had is that so me working for the hospital, and
Hmm.
me knowing who I can talk to, because all hell broke loose once I got my wits about myself. Like, why didn't I know this? I had this surgery
Yeah.
on May 10th. It is June 12th. How come I did not know? I had no phone calls, no follow-up. When you all found
Hmm.
the lump, when you found the abnormal mammogram, my phone was ringing off the hook. So I went and got them
Yeah.
all together. They were like, well, your PCP was for the doctor who called the order for the mammogram
Hmm.
was supposed to give you the news. I'm like, well, or the one order for the cert. I don't know. Somebody needed to tell me something. But I
Somebody dropped the ball.
advocate, yes, somebody dropped the ball,
Yeah,
but I guarantee you it didn't happen again. So
yeah. So
because my role, yeah. Go ahead.
and that's, it's, you work there, like you said, you were well versed on advocacy for yourself. There are a lot of women who are not, and that's why we create these circles, so that we can try to help educate women on how to advocate for themselves. But I definitely would not, I would have passed out had I opened up my chart and it's right in there.
Me
So
too. I get why they
definitely,
didn't do it, but the fact that I
yeah,
found out for weeks,
yeah.
4 weeks, you guys knew about this because I saw the date of the report. I know how to
Hmm.
read the report because I told you I work in the IT department. We put all that stuff together, and
Right.
so whatever. It
Somebody dropped the ball still. You should have
that's
been
the problem.
notified.
I'm like, okay, is it
Yeah.
because I'm
Right.
black? Is it why didn't I know? Like, how would it have been different if I were not black? Like all those things that are going through my head.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
of that experience is why I do this work, is because I want to make sure
Amen.
that women go in informed before,
Amen. Amen.
during, and after their treatment,
Yes.
their appointments. Because I don't play now. If you have a diagnostic appointment, please take somebody with you. And somebody said yesterday in our event that
Hmm.
I did an event with another woman who was a blood cancer survivor, multiple myeloma survivor, and it's multiple myeloma month. She said that
Hmm.
she don't like to bring people with her because now she has to manage their emotions. And I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, I should have had somebody there with me when I got
Hmm.
diagnosed the first time. And I learned
Hmm.
that. and so when the second time I got diagnosed, when I went back for that one, I brought my mother, but they were also prepared for me as well, because when I told you I was a wreck, they had a therapist, they had tissue, they had my mother there. It was all these things. And when they came back with the second diagnosis, I was like, oh, what are my options? They were like, we're going to start with a biopsy. Absolutely not. We're not going to start with a biopsy. We're going to start with a lumpectomy, take it out, because we've already been down this road. And I cannot believe that you're actually offering this to me as part of my treatment plan, considering where we are today. So that was off the bat. So advocated for myself again. And but I was of clear mind. It came back.
Yeah.
What are the options? Take them both. We're not going to take one, take them both. And I
Right.
just about my life. And that was it. So
That's how I was. Like I said, I
what
didn't
you gotta do,
see
save my
I
life.
didn't see any of the treatment as you're not my friend. Look, at this point, I'm trying to live.
Right.
So let's
Right.
do what we need to do, you know.
That's the
How was your mental, we spoke, you said you're just now getting therapy. And how was your mental during the time that you were going through treatment, either of you, and your support system? How did that affect you?
So listen, my double mastectomy was March 6, 2020, right? So the first time around, I didn't have to, I just had a lumpectomy. I had 2 lumpectomies and that was it. And I did the radiation and that was it. The second time I had my core squad. My friends were here. My mom was in town. She's in Chicago. I had my friends here. The second diagnosis, because I had learned so much about breast cancer prior to that diagnosis and through my own lived experience, I was able to I was able to approach it differently. So it was also March 6, 2020. That was right before the world shut down. And we're in New York. I lived in New York. I lived in Brooklyn at the time. And living in Brooklyn during the pandemic, pre-vaccine pandemic, and also just having my bilateral mastectomy made it difficult for me to have the support. The blessing in all of that is that my mother she came from my surgery and she got stuck here with me, and she was with me from March all the way until June. So until I got my second surgery. In terms of support, like we had to do it all virtual. My friends were like, that couldn't come over. No one can come near me. I was not letting anybody into that house. Let me tell you something right now.
Wow.
And I had to do everything because I had just had the surgery. I couldn't even go back to the doctor for a couple of weeks. You're supposed to go right back, get your stitches looked at and get the bulb, whatever the drains, which I hate.
They're so annoying.
I
Oh,
hated that. That was the worst part
yes,
to me.
they were so
That was
annoying.
the worst part. Like, oh, and I feel my bones like tingle a little bit because I still feel
Yeah,
from that. Like that was awful. But I had to
yeah.
keep my drains in for almost 6 weeks because
Oh
I
my
couldn't go to
God.
the doctor
Oh my
because
God.
of COVID. So
Wow.
navigating having that treatment plan, having a treatment
Yeah.
plan that had to be modified on top of like fighting for my life to make sure I don't get like infected from not seeing a
Mhm.
doctor, checking my scars, but also now this threat of this killer virus that's in the world that we have no idea. That was actually very scary.
I'm sure.
It was scary.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
because for me, I was literally probably one of the last patients to have their family there,
Yeah.
which they had masks on and they were in the hallways and they were almost like wasn't going to do it because the world shut down. I got done with chemo March 16th. The world shut down
Wow.
like a day or two later.
Later,
Yes.
it shut down March the
That
18th.
Friday,
Be
that
exact.
Friday, yes,
Be
that
exact.
Friday.
I will never forget that
Yes,
day.
because my birthday is March 20th. So I had all of this wonderful stuff planned. Oh, finished chemo, finished. So I could not imagine. I had my village there. They went to every appointment. Somebody went with me, my mother, a sorority sister, my daughter, somebody. So I couldn't imagine having to do that all on my own by yourself, especially those bugs. Girl, I just wanted to rip them out myself. Okay. They were horrible.
That was terrible. They were like
Oh
gushing
my
their
God.
only ones. I still
Did you
have.
journal? Did you do any journaling? Did you?
I did not journal. So you talked about my mental state. My mental state during that time was all about surviving. Like, you know, I had just broken up with someone. Like, I didn't even like deal with any of that type of stuff until after. Like, it's like, it feels like I've been going this like superwoman. I started AfroPink. I mean, I
Yeah.
started a new job. I have all these things. And then
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, I'm settling in. I'm 4 years. I just had my 4th year, March 6th, 2024, January 6th, 2024. I celebrated both days because one was like, I got the diagnosis again. I got clear, and then I was really clear on March 6th. But yeah, my mental state, like it's like I compartmentalized, I guess, because my focus was
Wow.
getting
Surviving.
surviving breast cancer,
Yep.
surviving COVID. So none of that stuff
Yeah.
is important. And now that I'm like, I think things started to like break down a little bit towards like 2 years after. Like I started to like feel differently because now we can go outside. And I want to go outside. I want to put on my clothes. And I'm like, oh my God, I look so different. And I'm looking at these pictures and I'm like, my friends are like, you look so beautiful. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I get pictures and I'm like, just post whatever you want. Just don't, you know, whatever. So it's just that's how it started that way. And I started to realize that this may be something a little bit bigger than what it is. And so other things I started to just realize that I really never gave myself a time to like really grieve because I was so, it's time to go, which is why I loved how Dr. Mo said, like, you have to let people know that when you're going through this, your feelings are valid. There are days when I'm like, I tell my friends, like the whole summer, my friends were out having a ball. I was working AfroPink and other stuff that I do, but mostly I wanted to just be by myself and just try to figure out my life and try to figure out how I can get beyond whatever this feeling, because I'm not feeling like myself lately. So but I find
that is a going theme. That is the going theme. And it's hard. It is a very hard place to be in.
It is.
So
It
yeah.
is.
It
It
sounds
truly
just like
is.
deja vu. I swear it's
Yeah.
just so, your story just sounds so much like my story. It's just deja
And then
vu.
both of y'all stories is different from mine, but I'm learning so much more. Like I didn't have drains and things of that nature, but I've heard about it. And then what it does, you know, I think sometimes I always remember saying I wanted to do something real big in my life to just help people. And that sorority sister that walked this journey with me, what I forgot to tell, is also a survivor.
Oh
She's
wow.
an 18-year survivor.
Wow.
And
All
she
right.
kept saying to me, she said, you know, you may have asked God for something, but you just didn't know how he was going to bring it to you.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
maybe what he brought to you. But sis, you had to go through this so that you could truly know what others are experiencing. And then listening, you know, to both of you, it gives me a deeper insight of things that I don't know about this journey, but it also makes me where I can have more compassion.
Yes.
You know, it's just like my scar. My scar is not bad. You could barely see my scar. But when we walked in that room for the exhibit, it was like my, you know, like what in the, I just couldn't understand what had happened, you know, to the other women. And it just, it's heartbreaking. And then you want to reach out to like to help them. And it's like, what can you do? You know, things of that nature. So just listening to you, you know, we have a friend in common. Adita, we have her in common. She inboxed me and told me. So she's one of the people when I'm going through my little, you know, when I'm spazzing as I call it, I reach out to her. I call her, she tells me all the time, just reach out to me, you know. But I think it's a wonderful thing that you are doing the therapy. I sometimes go and when I feel like I need it, you know, when I feel like I'm just like, just kind of, or but yeah, for me, I like talking more to chaplains. I don't know why, but every time I went to like a therapist, I'm like, okay, this is like, okay, I'm not feeling this. And you really have to have that therapist. Because the last one that they tried to set me up with, I felt like she was just checking off the box, you know, like, okay. And I told her that. And she was like, oh, well, we need to make some more appointments. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. And she said,
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable here with you. And she looks at me all weird. I said, oh, you didn't have anybody ever tell you that. I said, well, welcome to the realness. I said, because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
feel this connection with
Hmm.
you. You know, I understand that you're listening to a lot of people's problems sometimes and you're
Yeah.
trying to help them navigate. I said, but what is it that you can give me all these methods, you know, in different, you know, I guess assignments and different ways that I can try to cope with this. I said, but sometimes I just need to get it out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I
Therapy
just,
is
yeah,
And therapy is definitely about the connection with the therapist. You
exactly.
have to have the right therapist, and it's okay to say that we don't have a good fit. And
Exactly.
every professional therapist understands that they could refer you to someone else if it's not
Mhm.
a good fit, because it's life. It happens. You cannot become your best authentic self if you are unable to feel comfortable enough to share with a
Exactly.
therapist to progress. So that's,
Right.
hopefully that therapist got it.
You
Tell
did.
me one thing that you would give as advice for someone who is either just diagnosed, about to finish treatment. Give me some advice for a survivor, a thriver, or a supporter of someone that's currently in treatment.
I think the best advice that I could give someone is that you have to advocate for yourself. You
Mhm,
have to ask those questions, those hard questions. For me, no, I didn't know a lot about breast cancer. You
mhm,
know, I didn't. I had one aunt and two cousins that had it, but not really knowing all the ins and outs and the details, like the things that you guys are sharing. The aunt shared some things, but not on the level of when you're in the journey yourself. So you have to advocate. The thing that I did, I guess the investigative skills that I have earned, you know, learned all over these years help, because I'm
mhm.
now searching for doctors and I'm reading their history, their bios, the type of work, where they went to school. You know, I'm like digging in deep. And you have to advocate truly for yourself, because if I can
Definitely.
share a story, a little piece of what happened to me. When I got diagnosed, the VA sent me onto the outside to do my mammogram. Um, in that mammogram, this was the thing. I had a dream. And one thing I will also add in advice that I would give,
Hmm. Hmm.
divine interventions are real.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
I had a dream, and in the dream, a voice said, "You have cancer."
Hmm.
Mm.
I immediately woke up. I'm looking around the room because I'm trying to find this voice. Where's this voice at? Who was that?
Hmm.
But then I realized I'm waking up. I was like, you were asleep, but it felt so real.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, that's the Holy Ghost. That's that Holy Spirit, that
And the
intuition.
weird thing I
Yeah.
had too, I had this ingrowing hair, one ingrowing hair under this right arm, and it was like it was growing back into the skin. And I'm like, what is this weird thing? I go to the primary care. I'm like, look at this. Something's weird about this. And he's like, no, there's not nothing weird. And I told him, I said, Dr. Chan, I said, I had a real weird dream. I want to share it with you. And when I told him what happened, I said, something's going on with this breast, this
Hmm.
right breast. He said, he examined me, he didn't feel anything. And he's like, I don't feel anything. I think, you know, maybe it was just a dream and everything like that. But I told him, I said, let me tell you something. I said, the day that I met you, I told you two things. And the advice that I would give to people, the two things is, no one on this earth knows your body better than you, because you
Absolutely.
live with it every
Hmm.
day, every second, every moment.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
second thing I said to him, you don't know my body. I told first thing, you don't know my body like me. You the doctor, but I'm in this body. And I said,
Hmm.
and the second thing I told him, I always told you never dismiss anything that I say to you.
Mm.
Hmm.
He said, you're right.
So for that, Tamika, I would definitely say that is the one thing that I tell everybody. You are the expert of you. No one knows you better than you.
Ever.
One of our other guest speakers, she was a guest speaker here in January. She was 35, and at the time, she
No.
went to the ER for having headaches. And she told them that she wanted a mammogram, and they kept telling her no. And she was like, I want a mammogram. Well, guess what? They did the mammogram and she had breast cancer, all because she knew her body and she was having these headaches and she was like, something is not right. She had breast cancer. Not only did she have breast cancer, she had the BRCA gene. She's been diagnosed twice. She had it, her sister had it, her mother had it, her other sister had it. She was my guest in January, and she actually just lost her baby sister who had went through it twice, um, who it became metastatic in January. So you are the expert on you. Listen to your body. Nobody else knows you better than you. Zena, tell us about your advice, and thank you, Tamika. Thank you, because that is so important.
It is.
You're
So
welcome.
I agree. So for someone who's recently diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
everything that Tamika said, both of you just said, but I'll also tell them to, like, try as best as you can to develop a positive mindset. And by that, I don't mean by toxic positivity. What I say to you is there are going to be times where you're going to be scared, you're going to be angry, you're going to be happy, you're going to have all the gamut of emotions. Feel those emotions. When Dr. Mo said it earlier, your feelings, your emotions, whatever you're experiencing is valid. It is, but there is science somewhere out there that, or facts out there, science facts, whatever, that say that having a positive mindset does contribute to healing better. So that's one of the things I will give to people who are recently diagnosed. Write down all your questions. Stay off of Google. Dr. Google gonna have you think you're gonna have something growing out your ear, you're gonna die.
Yes.
Whatever. Don't do that.
Exactly.
So that's the first thing. Do not Google for this information. Find somebody that can give you the facts. Learn as much about this as you can via your doctor through trusted resources. I always say, I've been recently talking about going to community-based organizations like AfroPink, of course, because we try to connect you with people that can give you organizations. But there's American Cancer Society, there's the Strategic Omens, there's Touch. There's so many other organizations out there that have factual information. So use those as resources, and also talk to lived experience experts. They can have, so one of the things we try to do is connect you to somebody that has a similar diagnosis or someone that can walk you through where you are.
Correct.
But also bring somebody with you. Find somebody that you trust that truly cares about you, because you're going to learn that all things that glitter ain't gold when you get sick. So we'll just say that. That's just, I'm a realist.
Yes.
All
That's
things
right.
That's true.
ain't gold. And it's gonna be, listen, you're gonna find out who your true people are, and those are the people that's gonna be a part of your squad. So get your squad together. Somebody told me today when I told you I was walking on the street distraught, the tears are jumping off my face. I ran into this guy, my homeboy, and he said, listen, I never see him. He told me, he said, I never walk this way, but some told me to walk this way, and I realized why. He was like, V, get your squad together. Get your squad together, because it's very important. He said, I'm a part of your squad. I'm gonna check on you. And he told me how he had a friend that just recently. So it's important to have the right people around you, right? Somebody who is a thriver, or someone is getting ready to go into survivorship. That's the difference. So survivorship, like you say, you're healed, and it depends. Like I'm stage 0. It's very hard for me to have somebody look to find an oncologist that will look at my case, because I was stage 0 2 times. And so my existing oncologist doesn't feel the need for me to see her anymore, because I was stage 0 and she stands down, and she had somebody else look at it internally fine. So I'm looking for somebody that can look at my case, because you know what, it came right back. That's current, right?
Exactly.
Also, my right breast, I had atypical lobular hyperplasia. Plus, I'm on, I have other, when you get diagnosed, you get a CAT scan or MRI, and they found other little spots that I have to look at every year. None of them are cancerous, but I'm on surveillance, 5 other spots, 5 other things. So that's the anxiety. So I wanted somebody to look at my whole case, so we can properly diagnose, to make sure that I am doing the right things, but should I be doing something? So that's something else. So make sure you, that they understand that, anxiety is going to happen. You're going to have to go every year. Still take care of yourselves. Try to connect with other survivors, because no one will understand what you have been through unless they have been through it.
That's right.
So I make sure that like you, Dr. McGee, I've created my own AfroPink community where we get together once a month and we talk. But I also keep in touch with them all throughout the months, throughout every day. Someone's texting me about something. The last thing I would give to a supporter, your support squad. listen, stop talking about my aunt, my cousin, my brother, somebody died from cancer. When we're in battle, we don't want to hear about
That's
somebody
right.
dying. Please stop doing that. Please stop saying like that. The last thing I want to hear is about somebody dying from breast cancer. Okay.
Yes.
Trying to get through it. So do not say
Mhm.
that to anybody else. You want to, again, we want them to have we want the people, women, men, whoever, who's in battle, because men get breast cancer too. We want them to be with the
Mhm.
best mindset as possible so they can get through this as quickly as possible. It goes by faster than you think. And that's another thing I
Mhm.
tell people that are recently diagnosed. Trust me, when you get on your
Mhm.
treatment plan, do everything that they tell you to do. Ask questions along the way. Report all your aches and pains, because it'll be over before you know it. You're gonna be on the other side before you know it. That's something else I say.
Yes.
But I also
Yes.
tell supporters to also ask, like
Mhm.
when Dr. McGee gave the example today, people come by bringing lasagna and pies and all this stuff. Tell people, ask them, is it okay for me to bring you a pan of lasagna or a plate of cookies? No, I would like a salad. I would like, there's some people don't. Pink is my favorite color. It was my favorite color before.
Mine's too.
So some women, I met some women on the way, they don't want to see the color pink because it reminds them of that battle that they just went through. So
Mhm.
just ask people what they want. But you as a patient, as a survivor, should also advocate for yourself in those ways too. There are times when I just want to sit quietly. You can come sit with me, but be quiet. I don't want to hear your phone. I don't want to do this, so tell people what it is that you need from them, because not everybody's going to understand your journey. So I'm
Well,
quickly.
it's that old saying of teach people how to treat you. And that's the same thing. That's all. You're just teaching people how to treat you in
Right.
treatment. And it is definitely important for your community. Fighting cancer is just a mindset. The one thing that I heard God say to me when I was diagnosed is that all sickness is not given unto death. And I knew that meant that I was going to be well, that it was just a matter of a testimony of a battle, but I was going to be okay. And you have to have that mindset, and everybody around you has to have that mindset.
You have to
That's it.
believe that you have to
You
like
have to
visualize
believe.
yourself on the other side.
Absolutely.
Like, even if
Absolutely.
it's gonna be with smaller boobs. Like what I said,
Absolutely.
I was
So
like, how big?
mine's big.
I
And
was like, how big? Because listen, that could be a whole different topic.
I
Listen, a whole
guess I
different
was
conversation. But I was like, how
down
big?
from the beginning.
What's the largest size? I want that. He's like, but
Listen.
that's what I want. I don't want to hear nothing else. How many?
All I know.
Yeah.
Is that what she said?
All I know is when I seen this dress, I went to my regional conference a couple of weeks ago for my sorority. And when I seen this dress that I had on and I seen them boobs, I was like, damn, that's a lot.
Listen, girl, I'm gonna show you.
There's a lot of boobs in
You
there.
live down the street from me.
Let me tell you.
I'm gonna show you my
pick with
picture.
her.
I'm gonna show
You had a lot of boobs in that blue jumpsuit when I met you. She had a lot of boobs in that blue jumpsuit.
It had not clicked. And it dawned on me when I looked at the picture, I was like, damn, it's a lot of boobs.
That is hilarious.
Look, it's a blessing to be able to laugh about all the boobs.
I was able, to do, but that was me. I chose not to get an implant. He asked me, "Do you want an implant?" I was like, "I'm 50 years old. Why would I want a perky boob? One boob perky. This one over here that's been through life.
They got a match. They got a match.
Listen, I was like, take them and give me some new ones, okay? Take them. You can have them.
They tried to kill me. They tried to kill you, right? I want something that's not gonna kill me. So let's go with that.
Exactly.
I was just like, I don't want no implants. I don't want any of that. I said, just make me look normal in my clothes.
Exactly. I was still of the mindset that I still have to be cute. When all of this is over, I still need to be cute. I still have to live life. I still, so that's a whole different story. But I just want to say thank you to the both of you. I want to know how people can contact you if they wanted to be a part of the Afro village, or to me, if they wanted to talk to you about something. Please, and tell me one more time, what was your diagnosis? Like, I was HER2 positive, I was triple positive, HER2 PR and ER positive. What were you?
I was estrogen and progesterone positive too.
So ER PR.
Okay. So I am positive with both of those. I've had some issues with the with the medicine. So I'm like, yeah, I'm
Okay.
battling with that medicine back and forth. But yeah, I was estrogen positive too. I was EP plus as well.
And you were ER/PR too,
I was
Vina?
ERPR positive as well on both diagnoses.
Okay.
Both diagnoses. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I was
Okay.
ERPR positive, and I had to take tamoxifen, but I like I said, I stopped taking it because truth, Dr. Mo said earlier, she said it's so after you get the lumps taken out,
Mm-hmm.
everything from that point is preventative. Radiation and
Correct.
the
Mm-hmm.
tamoxifen, the
Yes.
hormone inhibitors,
Mhm.
it's supposed to like decrease the chances of it recurring. So
Yes.
after doing all that and it still it came back, I was like, oh no, nope. And it has a secondary cancer risk
Mm,
of ovarian cancer. So I was like, nope,
yes.
we're not doing
Yes,
it
I heard
anymore.
about that tamoxifen.
Gotcha.
They didn't
Gotcha.
give that. They
Yeah.
don't give that to postmenopausal women. So I
No,
never
I take
experienced
a
that.
nostril. Yeah, I had
But
to take
this
a
is another
nostril.
thing I wanted to share with you guys. So when she was talking about lobia, so
Mm-hmm.
I got diagnosed. They did a biopsy, so they came back in the same breast. So I started having
Mm,
this weird discharge, which was a bloody discharge. And I'm
Yeah.
I
like,
had
where's this
that.
coming from? Yes, I was like,
Yeah.
where's this coming from? And then it
Mm-hmm.
was going on. It kind of went on for almost like it's like December of what 21, think 21. So it went on about like a year and it stopped, but they can't find anything. When they biopsy, they came talking about it was lobia carcinoma in situ. And then they
Mm-hmm.
said, well, we don't call LCIS breast cancer. I was like, but it holds the word carcinoma. They was like, yeah, but now we don't call it that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Something
changes
in my
constantly.
gut. I mean, I keep telling y'all about this gut. I
Mhm.
said, I need a second opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
Go back,
Always.
Oh, yeah,
go
that's the
back
other
for the
thing.
second opinion.
Tell
It's
newly
not
diagnosed.
ovarian
Yeah.
carcinoma.
Always get a second opinion.
Tell the
You
newly
know, it's
diagnosed.
just
Yes.
Yes.
some little wild little cells going on. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's they're saying to me, well, this is just a precursor to say that there's a possibility you can get cancer. I was like, wow, well, that's crazy because I've already had the cancer. Now I'm gonna get the pre-cancer after the cancer.
Wow.
I was like, this
No.
is really, really wow. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same token, that's the part of advocating for yourself. You gotta fight for
Absolutely.
yourself. You do,
Mm-hmm.
because had I not went for a second opinion, I would have lost the whole right breast because I had a doctor
Mm.
telling me, oh, at the VA, we just have to take this breast off. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, you're looking at the same mammogram that I'm looking at. So I'm saying, are you going to do any more testing, any MRIs, anything of that nature? He looks
Mm-hmm.
at me and says, no. I
Mm-hmm.
said, wow, you do realize that we're dealing with deep tissue, right? That's you can't see with the naked eye. And he's like, yeah, but I just know. I just know. I said, well, I don't know what you know, but I'm gonna tell you what I know. I don't know who damn breast, and I did say that you gonna cut off without an MRI, but I guarantee it won't be mine. I got out of
Yeah.
his office and went straight to patient advocacy. And she was like, well, what do you want me to do? I want to talk to the head of surgery.
Mhm.
The
Well,
whole
that's another part, a whole nother discussion when you have deep tissue that you should, request ultrasounds. Because
yes.
we have deep breast tissue. There's a whole
Yep.
different, that's more about it. We're gonna have to, like I said, we're gonna have to do a part two because there's so much more. And I don't
Yes.
understand about your breast leaking and not because that's how I was diagnosed. My
Okay.
breast was leaking. It was bleeding.
Oh.
So that's why I don't understand when he said, "Oh, it's a precursor," because mine was
Yeah,
bleeding.
when they biopsied
That's
it,
crazy.
it came back as a precursor. So
Yeah,
LCIS is a precursor of breast cancer. So, but then all of a sudden it
girl.
stopped.
Yeah,
It just
I
stopped.
don't trust none of
And
that.
I did ultrasound, but you're correct about ultrasounds
Yeah,
because the ultrasounds found both of my issue. It found my
yeah,
initial breast cancer as well as this situation that is going on. But I'm gonna tell y'all
yeah,
something. I just pray. I'm
yeah.
just
That's
praying.
that's the bottom line.
I
We
do.
have
And I'm
to.
just living. I'm living out loud
We
now.
have to. Yes. So, ladies, I'm sorry. Did you all give your contact information for those who wanted
Oh,
to? Because I know I asked a question, but I don't remember if you did or did not. Because I think I
They
asked
can
another question.
they can contact me here on Facebook if they
Okay.
like. That's not blocked. They can also contact me at
Well, tell
Tamekiah.
them where. Yeah, on Facebook.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I can be contacted at Tamekiah Aguirre on Facebook. You can look me up. I can also be contacted
Spell
at
it,
my
Tamika,
email
because
address.
your name is spelled different than the
Oh,
traditional Tamika
yes, I'm
spelling.
sorry. My name is spelled different. It is Tamekiah, and my last
Mhm.
name is spelled Aguirre. In the
Yes.
English language, we call it Aguirre, but it is pronounced Aguirre.
Oh,
Um,
Hooray.
yes, Aguirre. It is Spanish. Um,
Okay.
and I can be contacted at my email address, which is my first name as I just spelled it, at hotmail.com.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Vina, where can they find you?
at on Instagram and Facebook, you can DM me at AfroPink INC. And you can also, if you want to do a consultation, if you go into my link tree, you can submit a form and it'll go directly to me. You can also email AfroPink at info@afropink.org. Same
Okay.
thing on LinkedIn, same thing on Twitter, AfroPink INC.
Thank you, ladies, so much for being here today. This has been a full session. I've learned so much. I look forward to the great things that we're going to do together to continue spreading breast cancer awareness, early detection, because we know that those are key. They provide options, they save lives. You all know where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. We are the Heal Her 2 Foundation. So it's healher2foundation.org is our website. On Instagram, we're heal_her2. Facebook is Heal Her 2 Foundation. And you all know I'm Dr. Lakeisha McGee. Also, you all know that we have 12 Shades of Breast Cancer. We have 12 authors in here that tell their journey about breast cancer. There's also a thesaurus in the back of the book that tells a lot of things about breast cancer, but as we continue to learn on this journey, there's so much more. And I think there's more developing, which, I think I'm going to go back and do a revision to the book or something, because there's so many more things developing that we need to put in there as well. But we're here. If you know someone who is in treatment, someone that we can send our pink box to, please let us know. Inbox me, email us, just look for us. We're around. And we are here to do what, now has become our new job is to
Absolutely.
spread, breast
Yeah.
cancer awareness, to do the best that we can, to share all that we can, to connect with other survivors. As Vina said, we connect you with a mentor. We provide support groups. We do what we can to help you survive, because breast cancer is no joke. And I know people do it, but it is not something that you should face alone. It is not something that we want you to deal with alone. We are here. We are here to support you. Thank you, ladies, so much. This pink was pinking
Thank you for
today.
having
We were cute with the
me.
pink. And Vina, listen, I was laughing at you because I was laughing because, I can hear that Chicago. I can hear that homeboy.
That's my homeboy.
I was
Listen,
like, that's my homeboy in my squad. I was like, yeah, that's that Chicago. I hear it in
the
the
South Side. Listen,
that's,
the South Side will resides
Exactly.
within me. Okay,
yes. I was
don't let
laughing. I
it.
swear, as soon as you said my homeboy, I was like, oh my God, that's that Chicago. But
Ah,
anyway, I love
Yes.
you, ladies. My breasties is what I call
Love you
you all. I
too.
look forward to the
yes.
work that we'll be doing together. And Tamika, you said you where now? Because I heard you say you were in Arlington, is it Texas? Is that where you say you were in now? What did you say you
No,
were
I
doing?
am actually in Virginia. I am in
Oh,
Virginia.
okay. I
Yeah,
thought you
I
were
am in
saying that you were
Virginia.
doing work right now with the Athena project. That's what I thought you were saying. So I was like,
No,
oh,
that's
okay.
where the Athena, that's where our pictures are located now.
Oh,
So
okay.
our
Yeah.
pictures are traveling. Our pictures, I believe, are in Houston.
Oh,
If
they're in
they're still
Houston
in Houston,
now.
if they are, that
Okay.
was the last location. They were at the VA in the
Oh,
Women's
okay.
Clinic in Houston. I am working
Gotcha.
right now with what's her name, Kathleen McDonald, trying to get it here in
Okay.
Hampton. So I'm
So
still trying to work her
nice.
get it
Nice.
here in Hampton. So the thing is she's like, well, it needs to be in the women's health clinic. And I'm like, why? Breast cancer is universal. I
It
want
is.
those pictures in the main hospital. Soon as you
Yeah.
walk through the door, that's where I want those pictures. And she's like, but they're, they're your breasts, they're kind of nude. I was like, and that was the
So,
whole
you know,
process of taking the pictures.
listen, when we took our pictures that year, in October, I made that my breast cancer, I made that my Facebook main page, and Facebook blocked it for a
Yeah.
minute. And then they sent me, this is against the violations or whatever. And then when I sent it back and said, well, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm a survivor, they was like, oh, no problem. And each year I've done a shoot like that. Last year I was in Colombia when I did a shoot and my breasts were out. This year I just did another shoot. Every year I will have my breasts out for Breast Cancer Month. I mean,
I'm
it is what it
doing that.
is. It is what it is.
I
That's
haven't done that.
okay,
Yeah.
well, we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you there. Don't worry
Listen,
about it.
I told you I got body dysmorphia, so listen,
I know.
don't know if I can. I did one.
you-
I'll show you that one. That's on in my Instagram. I did like a little something, but that's about it.
Yeah, I
It
do
will
one
come
every year.
But you know what?
Yes.
It will come slowly, because at first I was
Yeah.
kind of that way. I was like, oh my God, nobody can see my breasts except my treatment team. That is it.
Yes.
I didn't want
I felt
anyone
that
to
way
see my
too.
breasts.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yes.
And then one of my girlfriends, my best friend, I'm having to be at her house. And I came out of the shower and my robe kind of fell back. And she looked at me and she was like, is that what you hiding? Are you kidding me? She was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Girl,
So she kind of
listen,
brought me through that a little bit. And she's like, girl, cut it out.
it's
Cut
a
it out.
process. It is a
Yeah,
process.
it is a process. I get it. It's a process. Baby steps.
And look, I don't have my breasts out just on a regular basis, but for Breast Cancer Month, those jokers are out. Okay, scars and all, they're out. So hey,
I
it is what
got
it
you.
is. So,
Yeah,
but
because that's a
ladies,
part
it
of
has
us.
been. It is, and it's something that's going to be with me forever. No matter what, I'm always going to have these scars. Now, mine look really good. Vitamin E oil is amazing, like for real, it's amazing, but it's still there. So it is what it is, and because we're bringing awareness, people have to see now. Those women who have been mutilated,
Right.
I
Right.
cried when I seen those pictures.
I
Okay,
did
that's
too.
all I
I
can
was
say. That's
like,
all I can
what in
say.
the world?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I seen them when
it
we
was
did the
heartbreaking.
Athena project. Yeah, that's when
Yes,
I
that's the
seen them.
picture
I
I'm
was
talking about.
like,
When I walked in there, I was
yeah.
like, because I didn't know what my picture was going to look like, and I was afraid to look at my own picture. But then I looked at the other pictures and I was like, wow, it
Yeah.
was a lot. And,
Yeah.
remember right before that, you didn't know me at that point, but I did a radio roundtable.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the women that was a part of that round table was one of the women that had been mutilated.
Oh,
She had truly been mutilated, but
yeah.
she wasn't there with us in person when we were there. She couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
even with the mutilation that they have been through, their scars are still real.
Yes.
And it's okay. And I really commend them. I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
that
That
took a
takes
lot of
courage.
courage. It did. It
Yes.
took a lot of courage.
Yes, that took courage.
I appreciated that from them. I mean,
Yeah.
I really did. I appreciate it because they stood. They stood
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to talk about on one of our shows is women who choose to go flat. That's going to be another topic
I have
because that's something that is a whole different kind of courage as well. Because as I said, I couldn't leave the hospital without having some type of boobs. You can call it vain, you could call it whatever you want to, but I was like, I cannot leave here without these expanders. I'm gonna need some breasts, okay? So, ladies,
okay,
I appreciate you all. I love you all. I do. This has been great. We have great things to do. Great works. This is on your page, Roland. Share it. And it goes on YouTube. I forgot to mention that I have a YouTube channel, Heal Her Too Foundation, and all of the videos from all of our speaking engagements, they go on there. I wish I can go back and put the other ones because I've done this a couple of years ago. I wish I could go back and find those. I'm gonna try to see if they're still, I know they're on a page somewhere just far back, but I'm gonna try to put them on there too because it would be great just to keep the collection going of women sharing their testimonies because there's always something in these stories that somebody hears that it clicks and it helps someone else.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much for having me on your platform.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good night. Have a good night.
too.
Thank you. All right,
Okay.
ladies. All
All
right.
right. And I'm
Bye-bye.
sending you a Facebook request.
Yes, please.
I am.
Please.
All right.
All
You
right,
take
ladies.
care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.